All right, thanks everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Berlin-Boylston Regional School Committee to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thanks everybody. We're going to start with public comment. As we all know, public comment limited to items on the agenda for tonight. No complaints or comments about individuals, only operations, and we try to keep it to 3 minutes. But if anyone else would like to come up with public comment, please come on up. State your name and address, please.
Sorry.
Go right ahead.
My name is Julie Lee. I live at 180 South Street in Berlin. I will be very brief because I know your agenda is long. Hello, committee members. My name is Julie Lee, and I have 4 kids at the home. I have 1 rising 8th grade girl, 1 rising 9th grade boy, 1 rising 10th grade boy, and 1 rising 12th grade boy. I'm here tonight because I believe in my kids' school, and I believe all kids here deserve the very best and opportunity to pursue. I'm here tonight to respectfully ask this committee to have a very real and thoughtful conversation tonight about school choice numbers and how they come to be recommended. What process is used to determine which grades get recommendations and which do not. I invite you all, as you share in this robust discussion, to consider that the development and growth of these young people does not rest solely in the academic classroom. It is further developed in athletic fields, through our visual and performing arts, in leadership and mentoring opportunities, and in the language and cultural fields. Without sufficient enrollment numbers, we will not be giving our kids these important opportunities that will help prepare them for success as thinking and compassionate people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Amanda Babarkova. I live in Clinton. I have a daughter going into Tohoto this year who's been in the district since she started kindergarten in Berlin. And I echo everything that Julie just said. We're looking, not for a magic spot to be created just for my child, but if there's room, if siblings of children already in the district could be considered. My husband and I, we're not part of Clinton's community. We've only ever been in Berlin's community. I'm on the board of Link for 2 years. We do tons of volunteering. My husband is involved in soccer, rec league. He's on the board of that. We do everything that's in Berlin. We attend everything. So again, echoing, the opportunities for all children. But I'm here also to specifically ask if there's room in the incoming kindergarten class, if that could be respectfully considered. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Jason Carroll. I wasn't planning on talking, but I wanted to be a third wheel and reiterate what the first 2 people said, because I think it's good that maybe 100% of the few people that are here have the same view. I thought I have a much different perspective than Julie, but we're on the same page with this. She has 4 kids out of the district, Berlin. I have 1 child who's out of Clinton. She's always lived in Clinton. But like the woman before me from Clinton as well, my daughter is a Berlin kid at heart in Tohoto now. She's 14 and a half and she doesn't know anyone in our town. So to her, Tohoto is her family and all her friends are here. And like Julie's kids, my daughter has flourished here without, she has all straight A's through all 3 years of middle school. And I know the only other Clinton girl in her grade is the same thing. They're both on highest honors every. I bring this up because about a year ago, someone showed concern about opening it up to like Clinton or some other surrounding towns. Al knows in bigger cities, you're at risk of bringing in kids that maybe bring down the MCAS scoring, whatever, but I can say the kids that come here from the town I'm in, Clinton, are all on the honor roll every semester at Toronto. So I just ask that you be open-minded in that regard. And the other thing that is directly related to my daughter, she's in 8th grade. And as Julie knows, the 8th grade's fairly large. They've been in the mid-80s for the past couple of years, even though they were in the 20s. I'm in Berlin for a few years. But as some of you, maybe all of you know, a lot of those kids are leaving to St. John's, Assabet, and some Worcester public private schools. So it's estimated to be maybe in the high 60s, but it wouldn't surprise me if we come in here in end of August and the freshman class is in the low 60s or high 50s. So because that's fairly new to all of us, and I think the misinformation, the ignorance that a lot of the residents had about the budget, that they don't really anymore, it caused people to jump ship when they shouldn't have. So I think that's one more reason we need to be thoughtful about maybe changing course and at least for a year or two, opening the door again to school choice. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here for public comment? All right, we're gonna skip over one thing out of order right now so that Al can bring something up that's a little time sensitive.
Thanks, Mike. So first of all, please join us. So first of all, it's my pleasure to introduce to you our new principal of Boylston Elementary School, Robert Pelzowski. I know that many of you had a chance already to meet him, either at Berlin Boylston concert last week, helping us to rearrange the stage, or at the BES talent show, or at the BES meetings of students, staff, and families. So welcome. Rob comes to us with 9 years of experience as a sitting principal. What I mean by sitting principal is currently as a principal at Chaffee Elementary School. Just a little background of the process that took us to get here for Rob. When we posted the position, we had 23 candidates apply for the position of wanting to be working in our school district. We vetted it down through a screening process that I know 2 school committee members were on as well, to 17 candidates. From there, we interviewed 7 candidates. Were asked to be interviewed. We narrowed that process down to 3. I say that thanks to the interview panel and also to the help of our lead teacher, Brianna Pasquale, we got our 3 finalists. The 3 finalists had a chance to meet with admin, meet with parents, meet with students, meet with staff. From the meet and greet, we actually had a chance to send out 479 emails to families and staff throughout our entire district to get feedback, because that was something that we heard loud and clear from the community. That went out to staffs, to moms and dads, and everyone from BES. I thank the 42 staff and families that completed that survey. And from all the 42 that responded, it was overwhelming for Rob to become our new principal of Boylston Elementary School. Rob officially has signed his contract, and we officially welcome Rob to the BBRSD. So welcome, Rob, to the district.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. First of all, it's great to finally see what room, as any future principal does, they research and they watch school committee meetings, as you can imagine. And I've wondered what room you actually but yeah, that's what we do. And we watch all, as much as I'm on a data gathering course right now. I'm just trying to learn everything I can possibly learn about BES. They have some amazing things going on. The outgoing principal has been amazingly helpful to me. She's worked with me, emailing, helping me set up interviews, helping me just shadow her for the day, which has been absolutely terrific. Her dismissal process is amazing. I'm just gonna, take that and just bottle it all up and start to try to figure out where I go. So as you can imagine, I'm on a complete research-oriented mission right now as we speak.
So thanks, Rob. Welcome to BBRSD. So let me ask you a question. Why BBRSD? You could go anywhere you want with the resume you have of 9 years as a sitting principal.
So 9 years, I've been in K2, and I was really, really looking for something with older students. I think I did my best work with the older kids when I was in my Elm Park and my Worcester Public School time at an inner city school with K-6. And I just love the way that the older kids work with the younger kids. And and unfortunately for me, with the K-2, after they leave, you have no control over their abilities, over what they're learning, over their scores. And it's really something that I wanted to take. And so it's amazing. I'm 23, I'm surprised you didn't get 43 to 60, because it's research, it's just, your district is doing amazing things. The energy, just the other night at the VN concert, the other night at the talent show, it's just exactly what I was looking for. It's very similar to where my children went to school in Paxton, and I'm really excited just to be part of this.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
I told you I have to run because we are hosting an ice cream social for the second graders who are going on their way, but I'm available for questions, obviously.
Anybody?
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks.
really
So
excited.
excited.
I was like, oh, all right. No, I see that. Yeah. Thank you, guys. See you later.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Okay. Next, sorry about that. So some other staffing change, I'd like to inform school committee, make them aware of it. Please know that I know there's been a lot of talk about changes and things taking place. I'm officially letting the Berlin-Boylston Regional School Committee know what is officially happening tonight as well too. I haven't shared some of this information with you early because people have to officially sign their contracts. By the way, all contracts are being vetted through our attorney, Sean Sweeney, which is something that we have not done before. And so we're making sure that they're going through him and making sure that people sign off on their contract before we officially announce. And just for the logistics of that, for example, Rob making sure that we had his contract signed before we say to the other two candidates that applied, thank you for applying, or not thank you, we need to make sure we're doing this the right way. So when it becomes official, that's when I want to be able to share that information with you. So there is a process that we're trying to create, and again, vetting all our contracts through Rob. Next change that's taken place, Sally. We're both happy and sad to tell you about some movement taking place with Sally. First of all, congratulations to Sally. She's been officially appointed to the role of an assistant superintendent of a charter school in Lawrence, Mass. With what an accomplishment for her, both educationally, financially, in her career. And I know Sally would like to say something and speak to the school committee as well too. Sally?
Sure. I just wanted to say, first of all, it's bittersweet because I've really enjoyed working here for the last 9 years. It's been exciting to work my way up through 3 different roles here and to work with everybody. But going back to school to get my doctoral degree and having the goal of becoming an assistant superintendent, it's been something I've wanted to do for a very long time. And in the last several years of my life, there's been some, curveballs thrown at me. Life gets in the way, so I wasn't able to do it. But it's finally coming together. And so for me to make a change, this was a good time for me to do that because it coincides with going back to school. And I, really enjoyed meeting everybody at the new district and the responsibilities that I'm going to be carrying out there. So I'm very excited about it, but at the same time, it's bittersweet, and I'm going to miss everybody. And thank you all for, being so supportive and helpful all the years.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Nice job. So we in education always want to advance, and here is a great opportunity for Sally as well too. So we wish you well and congratulations to you. I personally, Sally, truly appreciate your help these past 9 months. You've been an incredible support and will be missed by everybody. So please, thank you for that very much so. So with an opening taking place at the curriculum position at the secondary level, I am pleased to let you know that Renee Legendre is dedicated in forward-thinking education with over 20 years of experience in schools. She holds a master's degree in education with a concentration in reading, is licensed in Massachusetts as a pre-K to 12 administrator, as a pre-K to 12 reading specialist, as a grade 1 to 6 elementary educator, and a grade 5 to 12 English language arts educator as well too. Familiar with 504 programming, Title IX, Title Grants program, respected for her collaboration among leaders, style, and commitment to our district. Renee is well prepared. She's going to take on the role of Director of Curriculum and Grants for grades 6 through 12. So we welcome Renee into that new position. We're thrilled to have her join us. Renee, congratulations. We look forward to, you have anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, very excited. I think it'll be a nice transition for me personally, professionally, and I won't feel, upset because I'm still working with all the same people.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a really nice way also that we can transition the district to take a look at, what fifth grade looks into sixth grade, and start doing some of that work that we've been trying to do. So I'm really excited about the opportunity. So thank you.
So one of the things that we learned from every principal that interviewed for us, the new ones that were interviewing for the Boylston, was questions about our curriculum and where we're going with our curriculum and what does that look like. It was an eye-opening to even us as administrators when we're sitting there and they were asking us these questions that we still don't have answers. So adding Renee into the team of John will give us a good chance to take a look at all that and making sure that we're moving forward on that. Any questions or concerns? Any thoughts?
You left the singing off the resume.
What's that?
You left the singing off the
Oh,
resume.
singing off the resume. Well,
Amazing singing.
So any questions or concerns? And here's my new book I'm reading, right? Renee Brown, Clear as Kind, right? Everyone knows that. There's no other story here, right? We're really happy for Sally moving on. Congratulations. We in education want to our people to advance. Great opportunity for Renee. We're really happy. She's still going to be part of the team, still working with the team over at Tohoto as well, too. So congratulations to both of them. So we're really excited about them coming on board as well, too, and the changes that would take place. Very typical this time of year in education. Go on school spring. The amount of jobs that are out there right now for educators, teachers, everything that's out there right now, it's a big change that takes place. So we're really happy making some change, but we're happy about those changes, and we'll be sadly missing Sally as well, too. Lastly, my last.
I have a question.
Sure.
So are we backfilling Renee's, is that position open?
So officially wanted to make sure school committee knew, right? So
Oh, yeah.
officially letting you guys know tonight. Tomorrow, Lisa's ready, already been
Oh,
vetted,
all right.
the job. Again, the important thing is to make sure I have contract signed, school committee being notified, posting the positions afterwards. I would never post a position and you say to me, why is there an assistant principal job being open? So Lisa's been chopping at the bit, right, to post it, but I said it can't happen until
There are so many things
after
out
we
there, right?
publicly make that announcement tonight. So I wanted to make sure that was happening. Okay, lastly, my last introduction of a position new is our athletic director. I guess I really don't need to do too much of an introduction, but since she's sitting here in the audience, ladies and gentlemen, our new athletic director is Julie Lee. Julie, can you join us up here? Julie will be joining us as our new athletic director. We're finalizing contracts with Julie, and she'll be officially doing some transition with Matt Picaro, and will be joining us as of July 1st. So we're very excited for Julie. Come on, any words? Come on. Because this school is going to be asking you multiple times as an athletic director to come and present.
Okay, sure. Great. I'm good with it. So thank you for the opportunity. I've been here in the athletic arena at Tohoto for 7 years, because I will see you next year. So in all fall season, winter season, and spring season. I know I have a lot to learn. I love to learn, so I'm excited to be learning. But I think I have a good handle on athletics, and I think athletics are just really a good extension of the academic classroom. So I'm excited. I'm just excited to do it because I love athletics and I love kids' sports. It's really exciting. So thank you.
Julie and I have had a chance to have a couple meetings. A lot of competition. 20-something people applied for the athletic director position. Thanks to Lisa as well, too, sat on that interview panel with me, as well as the dad, and Rich Cameron as well, too. And Julie was our top candidate. It's also nice to promote from within as well, too. We did with Renee and with Julie as well, too, creating that bench. So congratulations and welcome. Questions for Julie?
Congratulations. So excited for you.
Yeah.
Nice
For
job.
our district.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Julie.
Appreciate it.
And the last thing I want to just sort of encompass on the staffing updates. As you might be aware, for first time, we were putting out reassurance letters from the district office. A lot of times they were coming out from individual schools. And the reassurance letter, and we're still in the process of negotiating contracts, and I know we'll talk a little bit more about that in the executive session, but we send out letters saying to people, we're making sure you're coming back, and the reassurance that you have a position. This way they don't collect unemployment, but at the same time, we're knowing what our staffing is. As of today, we're looking at 100% of our teaching staff returning to Boylston Elementary School, and about 99% of our staff at Berlin Elementary School returning, and we have a couple special education movements that's taking place as well too. But we're happy to say that we're in great position for staffing. And again, if you ever doubt, look at School Spring, the amount of positions that are open right now in the competition. But right now, we have no postings that we're playing, because as of right now, everyone's playing and coming back and working in our district, which is a great sign for us as well too. So I wanted to give you an update about that. Questions on any of that taking place with staffing updates? Again, a lot of conversation out there. I'll always make sure it goes from school committee first, from school committee, and there'll be a community letter going out to everybody tomorrow, talking about Sally, Renee, Julie, but wanted to make sure you saw it first, and then you'll see postings come right after that as well too. Thank you very much. Thanks for going out of that.
Yeah, no, thanks, Al. Congratulations to Sally, Julie, Renee. Thank you very much. Not to rain on anybody's parade, Al, but I have to be the guy to be the jerk. It's sort of my role. I had no less than, over the last couple of weeks, no less than 7 different people from all walks of life, parents, employees, administration, reach out to me and say, what's going on in the district? Why are we losing so many people? I heard this person's leaving, that person's leaving. They're leaving because of this reason. They've got complaints about this or that. As committee members, I just want to remind the committee, we shouldn't be out there participating in the rumor mill, gossip, anything like that. It ends up getting back to people. We just recently got over a pretty expensive settlement of a lawsuit for just that reason, being sued for saying something about employees or former employees. So I just want to make sure everybody understands that as much as we love the people in these positions and that we think it's great being parents and having our kids at these schools, our role on the school committee is the business side of the schools. And as the business side of the schools, we're an employer. And as an employer, we have certain obligations and employees have certain rights. And the variety of people who came to me and mentioned something about they heard this, they heard that, they heard something from this certain person. These people would never reach out to me in real life. They actually probably talked about me to some people in real life. Fair enough, whatever, I own that. But the fact that they were comfortable enough to approach me, that they were concerned about this, given our history with recent lawsuits, I just want to make sure everybody's in. We shouldn't be talking about anything about any employee issue outside of the proper arena scope of these meetings. So I just want to make sure everybody has that reminder. And if you're in the community and you're asking someone for the inside scoop on why is this person going, what's happening there, just understand when they tell you, I'm sorry, it's a personnel issue, we can't discuss it.
It's truly is a personnel issue, right? Sally and I were having conversations way earlier, but I'm not out there sharing that information. It's personal information. My conversations after the interviews with Julie, my conversations with Rob, I still have to make other phone calls, which, by the way, again, I'll be presenting to the school committee shortly, but we need some HR help. Right now, it's myself, Patty, and Aaron. As a superintendent for the other candidates that didn't get the Boylston Elementary job, I still owe them that conversation, that respectful conversation I had to have with them, right? But I had to do that in a timely manner. All of that needs to take place. The conversations with Renee, I have to be respectful of that. I know everyone wants knowledge and information, and I appreciate that, but I promise I'll give you it in a very thoughtful, mindful way. So I'm respectful. We're in an HR business. We don't really have an HR department, but we're dealing with a lot of human resource here, and we have to be careful about that. And my job is to protect this district and not to get us being sued, right? And making sure that we're handling this the right way and having those conversations, and sometimes very difficult conversations. There were a lot of highly qualified people for the athletic director's job. But I'm not going to announce Julie getting the position of that, which we're thrilled for, without me having the professional conversation with these people that didn't get the job. So the next time when a job might come up, they're going to reapply because they're going to say, I was treated respectfully, I was treated the right way. Instead of them seeing online or seeing in social media or seeing at a school committee, I guess I didn't get the job. I sat and had conversations with every one of those people to make sure they knew reasons why. And they want to know why. Why didn't I get the job? How can I do better next time? So that's the reason why I'm not sharing all that information until it's able to share it with you publicly and being respectful to everyone involved. So please, any questions, bring them to me. I'm just trying to make this the right way. The golden rule with HR is if you make a mistake, it's going to cost you a lot of money. So we're just trying to make sure that's not happening.
All right, thanks. So now that that's out of the way, again, congratulations.
Yep, sorry.
It's pretty, it's a nice feeling to have sort of roll from one year to the next without a lot of disarray and no plan. But like, congratulations to Sally for moving on, but there's immediately a plan in place to take care of that. And congratulations to Renee, there's a plan in place for that.
And job posting tomorrow for the assistant principal job, ready to go as well too.
So, and then to hear all the people who are coming back, the budget sorted out.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool too. All right, back to the top of the agenda, please. We are at the consent agenda. We have some minutes on there to approve. Could I please have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Lori?
Second.
Jess, would anyone like to discuss it? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against?
I'm so sorry. So Lynn Gross is sitting here taking notes, by the way, so everyone knows who's this one at the end as well. So she's our admin assistant. So she's being mindful about taking our notes. She's been subbing in for us. Everyone knows her in the community of Boylston for sure. Has done amazing work since Nicole has left to become a mom. So thank you. So I just want to make sure you know who's sitting at the end of the table, doing her very best to take notes. It's been a pleasure working with her these last couple of weeks as well too.
All right, thanks. That motion passed. Al, thank you. Next up is the school committee reports. There, I'm going to go out of order here again. And Beth, if you would like to start with the scholarship,
Okay, I just
not the
wanted,
vote, just the you wanted to say something.
I wanted to thank Carol Young and Rich Mariani for their continued work reviewing all of the Moses Reed Tyler scholarship applications. There were 12 of them, a lot of paperwork to go through. They go through it really thoughtfully and efficiently, and it was amazing to watch how much thought they put into each application and looking through them. And they really helped me learning how to do it. It's the first time I've done it. They were very helpful. And I wanted to congratulate the 12 recipients. 2 were class of 2025 graduates. Jackson Money from Tohoto and Toddy Motzi from Assabet. Toddy was one of the first Assabet applications in quite a long time. The other recipients were Gretchen Munter, Mary O'Day, Sadie Michelson, Aiden Christian, Jamie McNamara, Patrick Christian, Evan Schultz, Morgan Schultz, Jordan Money, and Paige Money. And we gave out close to $21,000 in scholarships of various amounts. Each one. Congratulations.
I read the letter that was in there. This originally started with a $20,000 gift, and you're giving out $21,000. So that's some pretty good management from.
Yeah,
Was it
it's
the
impressive.
1930s or something, 1920s?
It's really impressive when you look back into it, how they maintained it, and, you know, it's a small scholarship to these kids, but it's a big, small scholarship, and just watching the way that the kids are able to stack these small scholarships to make college so much more attainable was really, it was eye-opening, and I appreciated learning it. Well, my daughter's a junior. But yeah, it was interesting.
We should do a case study on that, Lisa, for the personal finance.
Yes.
How many scholarships are left on the table?
How to make $20,000 last for 100 years.
Yeah, seriously.
And just for the record, I have to give credit to Beth, like MASC says, your job as school committee members to take as much as you can off the plates of the admin. She did it all, from the thank you cards to the ending and come and get notepads and letterhead and stuff like that. So thank you. You took that all off us and did it all on you as a school committee member. So much appreciated that. So thank you. Nice work on that.
Thanks, Ben. Does anybody else have anything? So next up, so Beth, sorry. Sorry, Jess and Penny, you guys both asked me to put some stuff on here to talk about school committee goals and self-evaluations. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Ends up what
I know,
nice,
yeah,
but-
go ahead.
All right. So some of the conferences that I've been to for MISC, they talk about operating protocols. Right now, we only have our handbook that is circa 2021, I believe. That's functioning as that. But I learned that MASC can come and work with us to develop operating protocols that we all discuss, we agree to, we sign with the superintendent as well. Just expectations and conduct, which some of the handbook certainly talks to, is a great place to start, but there's a lot of examples available to us from MASC. With the operating protocols then are the basis for the self-evaluation. And so that is something that we have done in the past. We got something from MASC and kind of personalized it to our committee. But I think it was hard because we were kind of going over based on kind of rough goals and not specific ones that we had based at the beginning of the year. So I think, you know, as a committee, we always want to do better, bigger and better things for our district. So it is important that we do a self-evaluation every year.
Yeah, I agree. So I don't think we did it we definitely didn't do it this current year that we're in. I don't know that we actually set goals for the year before that. But we did set goals, I think it was like the 22-23 school year maybe. And then we did a full self-evaluation. I think that was the year before you joined the school committee, Jess.
So one thing I worked on it, so
Or maybe it was that
lost-
year.
I lost track of though, like, because we were doing carols and then we were doing the self-eval.
Yeah.
And then I don't recall what happened. Obviously, you know, carols happened, but I don't know if that ended up going out or if we received results to us.
Carol?
No, remember we sent it, I know what happened, we sent it out but it wasn't working or something, there was,
Oh, because it's a new field rep.
yeah, we had a new field director, we have a different field director now, so it would be completely different, but we did, Justin and I did a lot of work on
The goals for that.
like, not the goals, but the self-evaluation, based on the 2 self-evaluations that I had been a part of in the past, that I think you had been a part of one of them.
Yes,
Um,
and yeah.
It's like a Survey Monkey.
The survey was good. I feel like we as a committee didn't do the work of setting the goals ahead of time.
Yes, yeah.
So then you guys were kind of stuck with creating this survey that was very general. And I think, obviously, it's not something we're going to do tonight, but I think it's something that we should put on our, and I think the reason why we didn't do it last fall was because we had a superintendent leaving, we had to hire a superintendent, we were going to do a permanent search. So I think there was just a lot going on. The year before, I can't remember if we actually set goals for ourselves or if we didn't. I know that we did it one year. And then we did the evaluation at the end based on the goals. But I think bringing in MASC, I don't know how much that costs, but I think it's okay.
Part of.
It's part of, all right, so then,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a
It's part
no-brainer
of
then.
the package. We did it in 2021. I've got the protocols up that we came up with back with Susan.
Yeah,
Is that the BAA policy?
No, I don't know that it made it into a policy. It was just sort of a document that we had going around.
Yes.
We probably should formalize it a little better.
Yep.
That's fair. Yeah, so I was thinking, do you guys want to work on something over the summer to help us establish goals when we come back in September? And then we can't really do a self-evaluation if we don't know what we're evaluating ourselves on with the goals. So that would be tough, but if you want to start that up over the summer and do something about it in September.
I mean, I did find, so we did have a policy called BA, it's Evaluation of School Committee Operational Procedures, and there are 9 things that are listed. So maybe it wouldn't be a self-eval, but maybe self-reflection. So 1 is communication with the public, 2 is school committee superintendent relations, 3 is school committee member development and performance, 4 is policy development, 5 educational leadership, 6 fiscal management, 7 school committee meetings, 8 performance of subcommittees of the school committee, and then 9 interagency and governmental relationships. And so within that policy, it says, discuss the results and formulate a series of objectives. So,
yeah, I've got that in front of me here. So those are sort of topic areas. If we're going to do goals, we'd probably write something specific around one or 2 or whatever measure. Things we know that we're working on next year, of course, is hiring a superintendent, continuing to get the finances in shape, financials.
In the strategic plan.
Strategic plan is one, and I know we're also talking about at least bringing up the idea of maybe trying to get some amendments to the regional agreement, at least around the calculations of things with budget. So that could be a communication goal, something like that. So if you guys want to get together over the summer and come back with something in September, we
Yeah, I think we had a subcommittee last time. It was part of the superintendent evaluation subcommittee, which I think is now
Yeah, there's been so many,
superintendent search subcommittee.
there's been so much going on with that, so many changes. You guys just want to, it doesn't necessarily need to be a subcommittee. You just want to work on it like a
Yeah.
project or something.
Yeah, and then do you want us to like propose goals? I remember what we did with Susan. She had that list and she came up with, maybe it was her and Laurie, I can't remember. You guys came up with the goals. And I remember, because I remember the community involvement, because remember we had that sign up sheet where we had to go to PTO meetings and all that stuff.
And as soon as you, so it's linear, right? You guys have to do your goals.
Yes.
So then I can do my goals.
Correct.
Then my principals, directors can do their goals. We all shouldn't be having different goals. They all should be linear. So we can't do our goals unless the goals of the school committee as a district are done. The biggest goal that you have that they're written for you is supporting that strategic plan and hiring a permanent superintendent. You're lucky, you got two of them, right, that you're gonna
Right.
be working on. But that will all be in line with us, right? As well, we're gonna be supporting the strategic plan as superintendent, as principals, all the way down the line. It's gotta be linear, but it starts with you guys doing your goals first. So to Mike's point, if you do them during the summer, that'll be helpful for me to write my goals. So that when I meet with principals, when we're doing our leadership retreat, they can start working on our goals as a group all the way down. And that their goals were reflective in our teachers. So it's got to go all the way through.
So maybe we'll do that over the summer and then we can present that at our August meeting and people can discuss it and decide if they want to vote. I think we should pick three. I think like
Yeah, we'll
two is
figure it out over the summer and, you know,
3 goals and
bring it back.
too
in
many
August,
or
put it on the agenda.
too much.
And
We did 3, right? Yeah.
And the other part of that is you want to be looking at the evaluation system, the self-evaluation afterwards. How does that, so if you're having goals, how are you going to evaluate yourself on those goals? So make sure you have that in
Well,
place.
that's the issue is because it was 2 separate self-evaluation systems and that's where we need MASC to come in because the first time we did it, we actually wrote a self-evaluation. It was an extremely cumbersome and tedious process. Do you remember? Because you compiled that, Laurie.
That's the same thing that we've been doing. Yeah, there were 2 different survey monkeys.
Yes.
One of them was more generalized, and then the second one, we personalized.
Yeah.
I believe it was Susan and I that changed some of the questions to make it more
Right,
for this
so
district.
why don't we do that? You guys sort
I can,
through all
I
that
can give,
stuff.
Jess has that, she has access to it, but I'll send it to
Yeah.
her, so you guys can use that and see if just.
Send me the document that you
Yeah.
have from.
Yep.
Yeah.
325 school districts that
Is that
are
in
doing
the
the
draft?
same thing. So you don't have to even reinvent the wheel. If you go on their district website, you'll see school committee section,
All right.
325 of them out there for you.
You know, and it'd be good to have input from people, I don't know if this is allowed, but to, you know, to look at the BAA and see what, you know, if people would want to send what their 3 priorities would be for the school committee, so then we can compile that.
Yeah.
Put that, the official homework to people. Look at
Yeah.
policy BAA.
Why don't you guys go through all that and then, yeah, whatever you need, email, you know, whatever it is, email, what our priority would be or whatever, topics or whatever. And then, yeah, August would be a good time to talk about that.
Just,
Present that in August and then the committee can vote in August.
yes,
Yeah.
and then I can start doing mine, and then my principals, when the teachers come back and do the goals reflective of what the school committee's doing.
All right.
All aligned.
Um,
I have a quick question
Yeah.
before we finish that. So what's the process for getting MASC to come in and help?
I would just ask them, because they look, you know, Facebook, they know, like, we're going to go to whatever town and
Yeah,
work
talk
on
to
operating
Tracy, find a
protocols.
date.
Yeah.
So is that something we
This,
will vote on?
I was gonna bring it up during the calendar discussion later too. Because there's a couple of notes or tweaks we might need to make to that for different things like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
That we all would vote on.
Another,
Sign.
So another thing that's on the list for tonight that I want to talk about right now is school choice. Whatever the conversation ends up being, Beth, I think, has a good idea about getting some sort of consistent information about it for the future. So Beth, I'm asking you if you want to put together some sort of project like we talked about earlier about getting all the data possible we can about school choice and just coming up with a direction or a path or a plan, whatever you want to call it. Again, working with the administration over the summer. Lisa, if you want to be part of that too.
I would love to.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You guys could work together on something and then come, so we have an earlier discussion next year and we kind of put a plan in motion. Yeah. Cool?
That's great.
All right. Cool. Yeah, so that's what I had on to talk about there on my report now. So we'll go back to you. How about that?
Great. So the only other thing I wanted to add is two things. First of all, Tohoto graduation on Sunday, June 1st, 2025. We celebrated Tohonto's graduation. 56 of our seniors graduated and fulfilled all requirements to graduate from high school. It was a wonderful event. We were very proud of our kids. I thank school committee members that were able to attend as well too. This is a pinnacle reason of why we do this work every single day, every single month. And it was just a really nice event. Lisa and her team of Renee and Rich did a great job. Kids had all, as Mike can attest to as well too, they all had a firm handshake as they walked across that stage and accepted their diplomas. We worked on it a long time, but we certainly were giving them lifelong lessons. So I thank you guys for the work. It was a really nice event that day, and we're very proud of our kids. At the next meeting in August, I am going to have our senior guidance counselor is going to be coming in and giving us the direction of where those students are going. What colleges and universities are they going to? What job force are they going to? What are they doing as they're moving forward? It's the one piece that we as an educational system don't have access to. They all say they might be going to Harvard or this, but once they go off to those colleges, we can't always track them afterwards, but it's important to see where our kids are getting accepted to and where they're going off after they graduate from Tohoto. So thank you on that. Next thing is calendar. So we're still revising the calendar. First thing, I know Mike will talk during the executive session about negotiations, but right now, our first day of school on the calendar is still August 28th. The first day for students is August 28th. We did find another issue after I cannot tell you how many people vetted this calendar, including the people in this room. We found one more issue on May. It should be 20, not 21 days for staff. I'm not sure how we read it, reviewed it, but someone brought it to our attention today. So we're going to make another revision. So at the next, we'll get that out. I don't need you to vote on it again. It will just sort of bump everything. I can't tell you how many people looked at it, and we still didn't see that one extra day that was in there. So we will make sure that we get that out to you as well too. But please know the official start of school is August 28th still for students.
So no change on the first day of school.
We're not going after Labor Day. No, we are not. We are still starting in August. No, just saying.
How about earlier?
Just start. This is August 28th.
No change to earlier either?
No change to earlier either. Nope. August 28th is our date. There is an issue with the May that will bump us out actually a day in June. So, but we'll get that a revised count. That was literally just brought to our attention today. So I'm sorry about that, but we'll make sure.
That's just a typo, though.
That's gonna get you to Juneteenth.
No, June 17th, I think it is right now. That'll get. I know. I'm only allowed 2 snow days. I got it already.
I gotta tell you,
Already
if we
Super Bowl
started,
cancellations.
You're going there, huh? You
we
really
started out Labor Day with the weather being hot in August and September and so cold right now. I'd rather go to school in cold June with no AC in these buildings than early.
As you're sitting there wrapped up right there.
Times are changing. I don't know, Al. Labor Day is a rough time, buddy. All right.
And we do have to be mindful of Juneteenth as well too. Yes, absolutely. Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
That's it. Thank you very much.
All right, cool. Next up, we have Director of Finance and Operations, Aaron Osborne.
All right, so you have a memo that we shared with you on sort of modifying our print services a little bit. What we're looking to do is to start using Follow Me Printing. I've been using it for a number of years. You send print jobs to a work group printer, you have your badge, you walk up to the printer, you click your badge, and your print jobs come out. It's that easy. It gives you a lot more control. I can't tell you how many times I've accidentally printed something in color that was large and got, oh my God. And it's surprising when you see the actual cost of color prints. Color prints are about 3 times as expensive. Maintaining and keeping up with all of the small printers we have is very, very costly. If you think about it, a small printer is at least 3 times as expensive as a large work group printer. So you'll see we are looking to reduce the number of desktop printers from 63 to 17. That will not happen overnight. We are not tearing printers out of screaming teachers' hands. We are going to.
We're just gradually doing that. That's
yes.
all.
There will be a strategy to that. We'll work them through it. What will largely happen is we will, stop having those on maintenance plans, and as they kind of reach their end of life, they'll move on, and we'll continue to encourage. We absolutely recognize there are staff who should have printers, and there are some printers that are necessary. My office has a printer that is specifically dedicated to printing checks, right? So we print checks. Our big work group printer cannot print checks. So we have a printer that's specifically dedicated. The day I showed up, my very first day in the office, I handed the former director of technology my printer. I said, I don't want this. I'm 10 feet from a printer. It's not that hard for me to go do it. I'm a big believer that if we're going to do something, we're going to lead by example, and we're going to do it that way. So again, we're not pulling these away from people. We're not eliminating them overnight, but we're going to bring them down to a more manageable number. Ideally, we can use that money to help service students, to help provide more resources to the district, or deal with budget challenges that come. So, as we go, we'll be a little more limber, a little more fiscally responsible, and we'll get used to it.
We're bringing this to you guys as a school committee because it is cost savings, but it's not going to be the most popular thing that's taken place in our district. There are a lot of small printers, as you know, that people have and got used to, but it is cost savings for us overall. We didn't want to get that out to teachers and community until we had a chance to run it through you guys and making sure that you're aware of the reason why we're doing things. We're not just randomly doing it to do it. It's a cost saving. It's what we should be
But
doing.
we also need your approval to enter into a 5-year agreement. So anything more than 3 years, we need to take to school committees. This would mean entering into a 5-year agreement.
So, Aaron, what happens now when someone prints something? So they're at their computer, they select the printer, print it, and then 20 copies of whatever it is sitting there on the printer waiting for them to come collect it?
Yes.
So this sounds like a security issue as well. Or a
There is
loss
some security
issue
issue to it as well. Absolutely.
You run to get it, let me grab the coffee first, and then I forget it's there, and they get lost, they get mixed up with someone else's stuff.
Correct. Yes. Patty and I
That's why
spent
they
some
wanted
time
their own
sorting through our print jobs.
Yeah.
Just
Oh,
this
yeah, there's
after-
But now,
63 of them, yeah.
better
Perfect world.
solution.
And the
Yeah.
color, let's be clear, right? The color is very expensive to us as well, too.
And again, to be clear, the intent is not to take printers away, but to start weaning folks off and let some folks optionally decide to make that decision at first. I made the decision myself, day one. That's what I was going to do. It's close enough that I don't need Follow Me Printing to be able to just get up and go get my prints. So it's not that big a deal for me. I understand there are people who are a little further, and that's why you want to have the badge access. You want to have it for security reasons and things like that as well.
I'm curious, like sometimes if you're making, so many copies of it takes a while for that to come out.
Mhm.
So I guess, because then it's gonna add time to people's day, because they have to come and swipe it and then wait for it to come out.
I think it's going to save you time when you're not sorting. So I just shared that Patty and I ended up, she and I sent print jobs at similar times. Our print jobs were mixed together. We had to spend time sorting through. So what's happening right now is you have a bunch of teachers in this building. You may have 10 teachers all trying to print at the same time, and they're having to go sort through them. The power of being able to do this is to go, click, and those prints come right out.
And these printers are probably.
You can print direct with most of these. We can set paper cuts so that they can print direct if they want to. I honestly, having had that ability, I opt out of it every time because it's much more controllable for me to be able to walk up to a printer, click etch. The other feature that I think was helpful is right now we have to go through an address book or enter your email address, have something scanned to you. I could just use my card, click scan, boop, done, right? Scan job done. So, as with everything, there's some pros and cons, right? A definite pro is the savings. Again, we're not pulling these off people's desks tomorrow. The goal is to sort of wean people off and educate them on the benefits. And if we have conversations and people really need printers, we can have some of those conversations. You'll recall everybody had Zoom not that long ago, right? And at some point, I, at my prior district, had to start pulling that back in. We had Google Meet, right? Like, you guys can use Google Meet. We're already paying for Google Meet. Let's start pulling that back. So instead of hundreds of Zoom licenses, we ratcheted it back to a serviceable number based on very specific needs.
Aaron, the other piece, and I should be the last one to be talking, looking in front of me right now, but we're spending a lot of money on technology, right? We're buying Chromebooks. Like, we shouldn't be running off as much as we should be running off. There are some things that need to be run off, but there's other ways that we should be using the technology that we're in right now, right? And our students should be doing that. And there's ways of doing that without wasting paper, right? Some things have to be run off, and other things, we're spending a lot of money on Chromebooks. We asked the towns to give us money for those Chromebooks as well too, so we want to look at
I
that.
mean, who could forget the great paper shortage scare of the end of 2023 at BES and BMS, right?
No, sir, yeah.
Yeah, that was,
Ran out of paper?
oh, yeah, thought we did.
I think Lisa had a question.
Yeah.
So at first it's gonna be kind of like a wash cost-wise, right? But how much do you estimate it'll save over time?
I couldn't tell you. The hope is that we become, the big savings is like from a dollars and cents from day one, all of these printers that we have out there, it costs us about the same, but we get the benefit of the technology. So it's really going to be a wash from a direct standpoint. In terms of when people add this paper cut software, you very frequently see savings in paper and toner costs over time because people, just like me, I will print something and inadvertently print 50 copies of it. And oh my God, I printed 50 copies of that. I need to delete that. So I can go in, scan in, delete it directly from the printer or delete it from my desktop, and then print properly. So it gives you a little more of that control. So you're not sort of racing, oh my God, I just printed 50 copies of that. It also gives us a little bit of control, and this is something, you know, the intent isn't to sort of loom over people, but we can, you know, see where most of our print jobs are coming from. One department, one situation we can have conversations about, and we really need to print off this many copies of this, do we really need to print off, should we be using, you know, our technology instead based on what we're paying for? So we can have sort of constructive conversations about that rather than, you know, going, oh my God, we're out of paper because ABC.
And we're not going to limit, like, there are districts that teachers are allowed X number of copies, right? And we're not doing that. We're telling you that right now. And we've actually worked for districts that did that, right? To help conserve, right? We're not doing that. We're just trying to be more cost efficient without having to buy printers, having to buy the ink, having to buy the toners that go along with that stuff as well too.
I'm curious, is it any thought to have students to have access to some of those printers with their IDs? I mean, they do have IDs, I don't know how much they use them, but, you know, in terms of like printing out notes or PowerPoint to take notes on, or I don't know if that was in the thought process at all.
No, but we could entertain conversations around that and have, I mean, I'm guessing there would be some additional cost associated with that. I've seen districts that have sort of a student access printer. Many colleges have student access printers in places for students, so it's potentially doable.
I'd be very careful. I worked for a Xerox subsidiary and I collected the overage bills from school districts. I'd be very careful with letting kids have just access to the big printing stuff, printing in color. Very, very expensive. You have to be very careful.
Yeah.
What that's presenting is a
Access
very
to that
smart
doesn't sound good, black and white,
solution.
you know, and then tracked.
And the default is color, right? The default
Yeah,
is
yeah,
set
yeah.
for color, right? So,
So this also lets us control the default.
That's right.
Yeah, hearing Al say that, again, former district, we moved over to this and I was probably the biggest culprit. I would hit print and everything would come out in color. And once we had it, we were able to switch the default to black and white. And, you know, Aaron Osborne, the biggest culprit of accidentally printing everything in color. And you don't really appreciate that email that you print that looks like it's all in black and white with the single hyperlinked email address. That is charging you for a color print.
Yeah.
And you're paying for the color just for that tiny little bit of blue ink.
So Aaron, with these badges, if someone were to go to a printer and try to send an email about someone to someone, we can then track where that's coming from.
Using
like, so maybe they're scanning something at a printer and they're gonna email it to themselves or someone else, we know who that is.
I mean, I suppose we could. I mean, we could, you know, it would sort of give us sort of personal level. I don't think, you know, we don't have the time or the energy to be sitting there monitoring that. But if
Right.
there was a reason,
But if we were gonna-
if there was a reason to have to, like It's the
Let's
same
say
with,
we gave access to students and
Yeah.
they decided to do a prank and send a copy of something to a bunch of people. We'd be able to track down what printer it came from, who sent it at what time.
correct.
Okay, cool. Any other questions?
One
Yeah.
other question. So just thinking like a lot of teachers say they don't have time for bathroom breaks. So are you gonna have like printers on each floor in each of the wings so they can run down, grab it in between?
So I mean, we've added one here. Again, we're not getting rid of printers and we're open to conversations with keeping a number of printers available. We'll have conversations about how that happens, rather than just, again, pulling them all. They're not all pulled day one, but there can be conversations about, can a team of middle school teachers share a smaller work group printer that we hang on to, right? Rather than having every single teacher have an individual printers next to them that's colored, that's, you know.
So at first, it might be a little bit higher cost, and then over time, as you begin to get rid of, because you're gonna have this cost, we're gonna get this new copier, and then we're not forcing people to change their habits, we're asking them to do it over time. So people might still be using the old machines, even though we're paying for the new
They're under
ones.
contract right now, so it's all packaged, right? The ones that
Yeah.
are here, they're, you
Yeah,
have to see out that contract.
we're, yeah, I mean,
Ah, I see. So then when those are done, then we'll start phasing those out, and you'll just have the big ones. I think it's way better for my business. It's it's significantly cheaper to maintain the larger machines. We have a smaller machine now. We had a larger machine. It lasted for 10 years. It crapped the bed. We bought a cheaper, smaller machine, and the toner is like 10 times the price. So I am in full support of this idea. I like it.
It's copying 80 pages in there.
Yeah, exactly. And the toner, it's so much cheaper to maintain the machine.
Just in sort of to conclude, this 5 years should match the life cycle of all of our multifunction devices. So at that point, we'd be looking to sort of renegotiate a new lease with either Xerox or look at other options. There are multiple, there's a state contract, there's an MHEC contract per copier. It's become a very sort of commodity-based industry. So, you know, our intent would be in 5 years to start looking at the next, 4 years to start looking at the next technology.
Could I please have a motion to authorize the Director of Finance and Operations to enter into the referenced 5-year lease contract with Xerox resulting in a monthly cost of $2,650.
So moved.
Second.
All right.
Maureen.
Would anyone like to have another
Maureen.
final comments?
We good,
Any
Lee?
final comments, questions?
Thank you.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Anyone against it? All right, so that motion does pass. Thank you, Sharon. Is that all you had, Aaron?
That's it.
Perfect. All right, thank you. Director of Curriculum and Grants, grade 612, Ms. Sally Ann Stichels. Thank you.
So over the winter, we had Pam Gould and Zeph Janetti, which are, who both work for Teaching and Learning Alliance, come in and do a presentation to outline the process that they would use to work with our district to create a new strategic plan. And we just haven't gotten a chance to vote on it yet. So I did submit some materials to the drive for you to look at, which were basically just a review of everything that they went over the winter. In short summary, basically, they will come in and work with Renee and Al and put together some focus groups to collect feedback and input from stakeholders about what people feel that is needed for the strategic plan using surveys. They're going to be working on creating new missions and visions, core values, and then putting together the strategic plan. So for this time, we need to have a vote on that so that we can get that process going. In the project proposal, it gives an outline of all the steps that they're going to take and also the cost. If you need that, I have it. You can see it.
And we still have that discounted rate that we're getting, that they were giving to us last year, so we want to be able to lock that in.
Right, it was actually a higher.
The other part, everyone needs to be aware, they're going to do a SWOT analysis, right? So for people that aren't familiar with that, is they're going to do our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities, our threats. It's called SWOT. They'll do that with school committee, right? You want to talk about gathering some good information that you'll be able to use for your goals. They're going to do that with the admin team. They'll do that with the teachers. They'll do that with families. They'll do that with communities, and really get out and reach and say, what do you guys think as a whole are our strengths? What do you think as a whole our weaknesses are? What are our opportunities and what are our threats? Our biggest thing as a school committee is making sure that we get people to attend those events, right? They're going to be at evening events where we're going to ask the community to come in and come participate, asking the parents. We really want to make sure we have input, right? There's a lot of people making a lot of noise, right? And then when it comes down to the part that we really need their input, we're not seeing that. So we really need to make sure that we really push this out, and they have a nice way of doing this. This was very helpful for us, right? And when we did this in previous districts, it's really eye-opening to get to really hear what you sometimes hear from a small amount of people, and we get to hear from the whole community of what they really feel about that. And that will help drive our goals as well, too. So we're really hoping that we can get this started. This is Renee's goal, right? So one of the things that is her first goal is working in developing and getting the strategic plan in place. The goal is to have this next year, right? So that the new superintendent comes on board. Publicly, the superintendent in Hampden Wilbraham said to me on my last day in June, said the biggest gift I could have got was having a completed strategic plan handed off to me. And that will be our goal that we're going to do for the new superintendents coming on board next year as well.
Al, so what, you need a vote on this?
For the money.
What's the vote going to be?
Sorry. So the total cost,
I have this 18,750.
so what we're asking the school committee, I'm sorry, we should have made that a motion. So we're asking the school committee to approve $18,750 to begin the process of doing a strategic plan for the Berlin-Boylston Regional School District.
This is just the beginning of the process. This is not, is this soup to nuts? Is this gonna include a finished?
Soup to nuts.
The entire-
And by the way,
Entire cost?
if you look in the
Broken down.
Yeah, I see it.
if you look also, they gave you examples of what final ones look like, right? Canton Public Schools, right? They have their completed one here as well too. There's a number of different ones, what it looks like. And that's some examples of what ours will look like as well too.
Was this in the budget? Was this in the budget?
This was not in the budget per se, but
It was not.
So where's the money gonna come from for this?
we can work some things around to make it work. This is
Such
a priority-
as?
This is a priority for the school committee. I mean,
This is a priority, right?
We can,
I mean, I
you know,
guess-
it's a small amount for thing to consider taking from school choice if that became necessary. I mean, if this is going to develop the strategic vision of the district and sort of set things going for the next 5 years, I would think, you know, things like school choice are a place to make investments from when you can. So that's, you know.
And respectfully, it should have been in our budget years ago when our strategic plan came to an end, right? Or the work that has been done, it should have been something that was always looking at. But this is a priority, and this is what we feel as, I'm looking around at my principals and directors that are sitting in this room. We want this. This will be our North Star. This is what we need. We need input from the community on this. But this is what we're telling you is the priority, and this is what we need to do, and this is the cost that's doing it. So this is why we're here.
It's okay to just make a quick comment. I also, a lot of that presentation that evening, a few months back when they made that, the strategic plan can really help us push forward our budget, right? Because they set those goals up so that then we can see really what we're needed and then it's clear for the public to vote on as well. So I think that would be really important.
And I also want to be careful here. So if I'm stepping up, Aaron, please tell me, but working with contracts and new contracts, there is some cost savings there that we're getting. I'm trying to be careful here, right? So that we're going to be able to get this amount of money as well too.
So maybe we should just put a motion out there and then we can talk about it and vote. So could I please have a motion to authorize $18,750 to do the strategic plan as presented?
So
Will that work? Sally, will that work?
Yeah.
All right, Lori moved it. Jessica seconded it. All right, questions, comments?
So Al, I wanted to thank you for this. I thought this was a really important point that you made in your interview as interim. You've been talking about it since you were hired, that basically we're rudderless. Like, you know, we're doing great work here, but we need a direction and we need to know what our focus is. And I think this is also going to help us, as you pointed out, secure a full-time superintendent who's going to feel like we have a direction that we're going in, and you're going to settle a lot of things. Like, we're all going to settle it together. So I'm appreciative of that.
A lot of times our community and people on this board respectfully or have ideas like, let's try this year, let's try this year. Our 5-year strategic plan, if it's not in that plan, great idea. We're going to put it to the side until we accomplish the goals that are in our strategic plan. A lot of great ideas, but we need to have a direction that we're going in as a district. And it's not just school committee's agenda, it's the entire community's agenda.
I'm curious, so I was looking at the add-ons you could do with one of the Portrait of a Graduate for 20 grand, and so we did that. Obviously, we're not doing that, right? But I hope that is going to be incorporated, because there was like 30 people involved in that.
Yeah, Pam is aware that we had worked on that already and said that we could incorporate it into it as a last step. So it is part of that whole process.
Okay.
It's
I
a
didn't know
pillar.
if also like a guiding, like, because that is, right, Portrait of the Graduate is kind of our, what we want for our
Yes,
students
yeah,
to take here with.
yeah, it'll be taken into consideration. Yeah, she and I did have a conversation.
Awesome. And then what timeline? So, because there's community involvement there, we have superintendent search there, hypothetically a cell phone policy that requires community engagement as well. So I don't know, are any of these going to be in concert with each other? Because that's like a lot of community
Yeah.
involvement for parents to show up.
So it's really interesting, right? So in Hampton Wilbraham, when I left, we did the strategic plan as I was exiting to make sure we had one in place. So they can work together really nicely and make sure that when you're having those community focus groups, you can gather that information as well too. So it will really be helpful, right? So one of the questions, SWOT analysis, right? What are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, or threats with administration, right? Getting that feedback from community, getting the feedback from school committee. What are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats with school committee as well too, right? And across our entire district, that will be helpful for us as well too. Yes.
I will say that Portrait of the Graduate, when we were at Hampton Wilbraham, dovetailed very nicely with the strategic plan. It became part of it. There was even conversation about, portrait of the students advancing from elementary to middle school, from middle to high school, right? What are the things that these multiple elementary schools, we've got 2 elementary schools from 2 very different towns, what are those core skills and things that a student should have when they're going into high school? How do we identify those? So
And it will
you
also-
can sort of backtrack from that portrait of the graduate.
And with Pam, we did discuss that perhaps a better name for it is Portrait of a Learner, right?
That's
So it's not just a graduate.
It's really not the portrait of a graduate anymore, it's now called.
Portrait of a Learner.
That's the new. So the other part is they're going to look at also like our NESDEC numbers. I know Mike every now and then mentions those NESDEC numbers, looking at that, right? What are we okay at our elementary schools with our increased numbers? What's it going to look like 5 years from now? Are we looking at those population rates, and are we going to be able to, if we're taking school choice, and what does that look like as they go through our entire school? So they'll look at all that information as well too. It's a huge self-reflection for us as a district.
Okay, so like Tracy will be involved. So I don't know. So are these events going to be like one event, multi kind of use? Because it seems similarly feedback.
Yep. Again, we got the calendar already set for the superintendent search. We're a little behind on this strategic plan because we're hoping to start it earlier. But one of the things that we're going to do with the strategic plan is voting when we have our leadership meeting as admin, which we have planned already the dates. One of the things that will take place is they'll come in and do the SWOT analysis with us. So we'll get that happening at the same time. But I can't make any promises to the company until we're sure that you guys are going to approve this.
So who would be the strategic planning committee? Because it says there's going to be 6 3-hour meetings. I mean, that's a huge time suck. I think that's what you're trying to say, Jess, about having, if it's either it's got to be completely separate people, or it can't be done at the same time that we're doing the superintendent search, because it's going to be too many, or like when we're having the interviews and all that. 'Cause that's again, multiple, probably 5 or 6 3-hour meetings. So I guess, are we, as a school committee, are we going to divide and conquer that, where we have a group of school committee members that are going to be doing this, and then another group of school committee members that are doing the superintendent search, and certain community members that are doing the strategic plan, and certain community members that are I think what she was saying is can we overlap? I don't know how you would overlap doing superintendent search in this, because it seems like a little bit of it is
Well, at
overlap,
least the
but
community events, like, I don't.
the community events,
Yeah.
yeah, or you have to have different community members. You have to have a different, because you're never gonna get, people aren't gonna be like, yeah, I can do 12 3-hour meetings this fall, like,
So-
nobody's gonna be able
So
to do that.
it's interesting you say that because he's laughing. I'm looking at Aaron over there because
Oh.
we had to do an election because so many people wanted to be part of the strategic plan. It became this whole political
maybe-
thing of, so
yeah.
when you put that out, who wants to be on the strategic planning committee, you'll see many, many people in this community. So it's not just school committee, right? We're going to ask people possibly from the select board, from FinCom, from the chiefs of police. Everyone gets to be part of this or have the opportunity to be on it. It was a huge thing I was trying to narrow down.
36 people?
What's
I
that?
think we had 36.
36.
Oh my God.
It was,
And then how'd you vote?
They voted. I mean, they all would vote
Like a
on
town
things.
meeting or?
no, we had
Oh, no,
36
the meeting
people,
was 36 people.
200 and something
committee.
people wanted to be on this committee.
Yes.
We narrowed it down to.
That's great.
I mean, that is amazing. I don't think we're gonna. But so, all right, so fine. So yeah, so you'll have a committee, and then if we have a ton of people that come out for it, then some people can do the superintendent.
And they'll do stuff out, it's not all gonna be like, you gotta be face to face too. Some of those meetings will be, but a lot of they're just gonna send stuff out to you and gather information as well too.
We probably don't need to get into that
Yeah.
much of the details if we haven't even voted to. do
Yes.
it yet either, so I'm sure it'll come together.
They're,
Any
they're,
other final questions?
they're trained in this work. That's the work they do.
Yeah, I just wanted to make, like, you know, before we're saying, all right, we're gonna spend this 18,750, it's not in the budget. You just kind of want to make sure it's well thought out.
Yeah, being mindful that we're gonna be tapping the same people over and over again.
Yeah, I think, you mentioned the contract saving.
If it helps, we paid 35,000 to Hampton Road.
What?
If it helps, we paid 35,000 to Hampton Road.
We're getting a discount here because she's a colleague of ours, right? And so
Wow.
she was a former superintendent, giving us the discount from a couple years ago, friends and family discount. So we negotiated Sally and I to get down to this price.
All right,
Cool.
Can I take one comment? I just think about how enormous the principal search committee was. And I mean, you were picking names at that point, so I have a good feeling about this.
I agree.
Final comments? Anyone, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? All right, so that motion passes. Sally, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Sally.
On to subcommittee updates. Does anyone have subcommittee update for success and technology, Jess?
Yes. Sorry, I put a lot of things on. So we were, at the last meeting, and it was a little while ago, but within the cell phone and social media in schools toolkit from the Attorney General, part of their recommended process is to, to appoint an advisory committee. And so I know like through some of our policies, that's, you know, there's a process for that. But I didn't want the subcommittee to, you know, take unilateral action without kind of discussing it within the full committee, to go ahead and try to do that as well. Because there's community norms, but then also an advisory group, so to set up, you know, like a outreach and community, like come here, someone from each of these places that have the 3 different policies to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly, and to hopefully move towards a policy.
Would it make sense to wait and see how the legislation turns out?
Is there anything, well, was there anything active right now
There are bills being considered right now,
that are slated for this?
Yeah. as far as I know. As far as I know. Yeah, I can.
Yeah, President. I've heard of it.
Yeah, I saw a whole list of them.
All right.
I think it's important. I mean, I've always felt that this is something that we should be looking into. And when you look at all the other states that actually have bans on cell phones in school, I just think it's an important thing. And I feel like we kicked the can down the road on this. I know the students aren't going to like it, but we just had a friend who was at a different graduation who said that the cell phone bucket was their favorite thing because they actually interacted with other students. And when I think about students that we lose to St. John's, there's a brotherhood there, and the brotherhood is based on interaction. It's face-to-face time, it's the memories they're creating. We can have that here. But it's those connections that are being lost because it's so easy when you're uncomfortable and think about your teenage years, they're uncomfortable to be like this. So,
And the data's there that it creates more depression, anxiety, and
Yeah.
suicide. And since 2013, you know, the Anxious Generation author pointed out that scores have gone down since the invention of the smartphone. So, you know, the data's there to support it. You know, in terms of the community norms, even if there is something passed at the state level, which yay, I think the, you know, wait until 8th should be discussed too, because I think, you know, the 5th grade at BES, there was a parent group that wanted to have kind of an, you know, bullying with the police thing, and so that was grassroots, and because kids at age 10 and 11 don't have, you know, great judgment because of their, you know, frontal cortex. So, you know, and even with my 6th grader, we gave in because of all of her friends in 5th grade and she was being left out, right? But if there was a wait until 8th or at least a community discussion, like, this is really bad, like, let's just not do it, and created those community norms to try to avoid some of the mental health issues that, at least in middle school.
I think Laura's right, we have to stop kicking the can down the road and we need to just stop talking about it and do something. I mean, I'm not sure what's like, how to like kickstart that, do something first.
So I mean, it's a great packet, if you haven't read it, please do, Cell Phones and Social Media in Schools from the Office of Attorney General Andrea Joy Campbell. So I guess, I don't know.
Is there a suggestion to do something tonight, Jess?
I just want to discuss it on a full committee level. So like, you know, we can have a subcommittee meeting and try to gather it, but I just
Should we
wanted
put it on
to.
the next agenda item then? Next agenda as an item to discuss cell phones? People can come and weigh in.
Is there a blanket policy that we could, to Mike's point, put it on the agenda and then so that, like, with a policy, so that we discuss it and then we leave that next meeting with some type of district policy about cell phones? I think we need a policy in place.
I think it should be part of the strategic plan.
And I think we've talked about this, you really got to get the parent input on this as well too. That's going to be a huge,
100%.
so I'm going to tell you a part of this, which after you're
I
done,
mean, that's.
right,
yeah.
us shutting off the email connection for
I know.
the amount of parents that are emailing us because they don't have access to their kids by email, right?
During
Because
the
we-
day.
During the day is incredible, right? And so I'm gonna talk to you about that in a second. So we really better make sure we get parent input on this and making sure they're on board with this because they're gonna be the ones that need to support this.
But Al, some of those parents are complaining about that because their kids actually don't have a cell phone. So I mean, like, I think.
Selling point.
Right, like, oh, I can, you know, and to their point, if something is canceled, it's not like it was when I was in high school where there was a payphone and after school I can call my mom and say, hey, something's canceled. Or better yet, the school is sending out like a mass email, like there's so much on the kids' shoulders. Like if a sport is canceled, is the school notifying the parents and the parents, or is it on the kid to notify the parents? Because that's just been the norm because the kids have had the phone and they have the TikTok and they have whatever these apps are.
We don't have cell phones on the agenda to discuss tonight, so I don't think we should get too many details about it, but we can certainly put it on the next one.
And by that point, one of the bills is going to be
Yeah.
heard by
Yes.
the education committee, so we'll have some result.
And is there like a way to find out if we could bring to that meeting a policy? Like maybe is that you guys' subcommittee? If there's like MASC has these policies, right?
Yeah, we have a policy meeting set for the summer to go over the laundry list of things.
Is that one on there? Like, there's
Yes,
gotta be
it is
something.
now.
There's 3 different ones that one could discuss.
Yeah.
That different schools have. I've reached out to a few different schools. that have
So we'll
feedback.
put something together for the next agenda for cell phones.
Yeah, I agree with Laurie.
People will be able to then come in and talk about it, and then probably what's gonna happen is part of the wider conversation about the plan.
Yep.
That sounds good.
Do you think we could reach out to them perchance and see if they have like a little presentation to sum up their little toolkit? Or
Yes, I think, yeah.
Just, you know,
Yeah, I like that idea. And then Mike, good point. Then you have an open forum or like make it known, like if you're a parent and you want to talk about cell phones, like come to the school committee
Yep.
meeting and we'll have public comment. And if we're able to do it over the summer, hopefully that's more accommodating for people's schedules.
Any budget facility
No.
update? Do you want to talk about the parking lot?
Oh, yeah. So actually, two things. So we've been working with Matt Meekum from Boylston. He was a select board member. So we've been working on adding some parking spaces to Tohoto. And currently, we have to get approval from the DCR in order to add spots. And it has to do with the percentage of pervious versus non-pervious surface. So right now, we're kind of in the phase where we're waiting on an engineer to provide some deliverables to the DCR. And we're trying to figure out, I think, who is going to do this for us. But I think we've got somewhat of a green light from the DCR to move forward. We just need to provide certain deliverables in order to get the final actual approval. And then it falls back to the committee where we have to figure out how to pay for this.
Yeah. Alan, Aaron, I think this needs to become a priority because I've been at a couple of community events here at Tohoto this past week. And you've got grandparents parking on the side of Route 70 on the grass. Not only is it dangerous for them getting out of their car, but I was trying to leave the parking lot and I couldn't actually see and almost got T-boned by somebody driving 60 miles an hour down the highway. So we need to make this a priority. And we also need to start, I don't know what we need to start doing, but we can't have people parking on the side of Route 70 in front of the school on the grass because it's a safety issue.
Do you have any idea how much, again, back to the budget and like how much this would cost us?
So right now, what we're looking at is, so right now, there were two obstacles. So the first hurdle was getting the DCR to letting us add more spots because we're near wetlands and they're worried about runoff. And this is so far out of my accounting realm brain.
That's called a reservoir.
Okay, right. Yeah, all right, so the reservoir, so they're concerned about the runoff, right? So we couldn't just come through and pave all this, right? There has to be like the grass which absorbs the runoff.
Yeah.
So I think right now, the agreement is we can do this gravel, which is gonna be more difficult and probably more costly to plow. But it might not cost as much to lay down. So once we get over like the DCR rubber stamping this and saying, go ahead, BBRSD, you can add 75 spots, they cannot be paved, they have to be gravel, they'll give us all those specifications, then it's totally on us, we gotta put the project out to bid, so that'll go to Aaron, and we kind of have to figure out, so like as far as a cost perspective, I have absolutely no idea. Right now, we still have like multiple deliverables that the DCR is waiting on. And they're not just deliverables like something Al can do, it's something an engineer needs to do. We need sketches, we need drawings, we need, estimates on things. So we have two volunteers from the town of Boylston, I believe they both live in Boylston, who've been awesome. But again, they're volunteers. So we're kind of waiting to hear back to see if these people are able to, if it's realistic to expect these people can provide these deliverables for the DCR, either for a cost or not for a cost, or if they're just unable to provide it when we actually need to hire an engineer to do this. So as soon as
This would be
we,
kind of a multi-year capital plan kind of thing. So I think in year one, we look to go capital plan to get a design engineer to put the plans together, prepare it, get a cost estimate and help us get a bid package together. Then, once we have sort of that rough estimate, then we put it on our that would be on our capital plan for a smaller amount. We could figure out what that's going to be. Then when we have an actual estimate, we go on our capital plan for the full amount.
Yeah, I think we're making it to
Just in terms of approvals, it's going to be a long-term
It's going to be a long
project.
process.
This isn't going to be
It's not happening tomorrow or next summer, but we need to take it from the volunteer stage where it's people outside of the district. We need to start getting the district work on it.
We need to own it.
There's so much, we agree, we all know that, but there's so many other things that my mind, I'm sure you're going there, Aaron, too, right? First, for every additional spot we add, whether it's permanent or not, we got to add additional handicap spots. So we just need to keep that all in mind, so.
That's part of the, that was one of the asks from the DCR, and like that engineer has to provide that with how many, if it's 75 spots, we're adding, how many of these need to be handicapped?
That's right.
And
Entire
then-
front is going to be all.
That's what,
Right,
that's
it
exactly what's
might
gonna
have to
happen.
be,
Because you
yeah.
can't have
Now, all of a
handicap
sudden,
spots
you
back
have
there.
Everybody.
Or I think when I met with the woman who was sketching it out, she said because there was like that sidewalk right there, that some of those right there could be because they could be spots for the fields. So that we could do some handicapped back there,
Yeah.
that would be for the.
So there's options, but we have to get this done. because
Agreed.
I don't know if when the school was built, they didn't think the community was gonna grow this large, but if we're gonna host community events here, like, I know there's a dance recital here, there's other things that we charge for. We gotta provide those customers with a safe place to park. You step out in your car and like my clumsy ass did the other day, you trip getting out of the car and you fall on your face, you're falling head first into Route 70.
Yep.
This isn't existing, this isn't a new.
It's not a new thing, but
I've
it
been
needs to-
parking on Route 70 for 5 years, so just so you know, like.
No,
not-
it's
like, an
not
emer-
new, but-
It's important and it needs to get put into plan.
Yes.
It's gonna take years, but
Yes.
it's not like emergency, this happened this year because somebody's been inconvenienced.
No, it's not an emergency, but we've been talking about it for 3 years, and it's time to get serious about it.
Yeah, the next thing, I know, Matt Meekum is, once he's been a huge help at getting the approval of the DCR and making the connections that we needed to kind of get the approval.
Yep.
So once that's done, I think the big point is, then it becomes the district has to own it, and, obviously, like all of the steps that Aaron said.
Okay,
So whatever
yeah.
timeline it needs to be, that's
Yep.
Aaron's realm.
Yep.
But yeah, this summer, it'd be
Lighting
nice to
out
have
there,
that
we
sketch
have to
done.
be, we'll have to look at lighting, insurance, right?
Lighting, the
We're adding
curbs, you
those-
have to put those curbs in, you're gonna have to
All
put, like,
that,
because
yeah.
it's gravel, you're gonna have to
You
put
might
those
be making this
curbs.
process longer by using volunteers, like you probably
Correct.
need to get.
Yeah, so-
Correct.
Putting it on for bid.
Correct, 100%.
Final
So-
story is Al and Aaron take care of it.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Alright.
they were just gonna do the, what volunteers, like, this is their career, so we were gonna do the decency of saying like, hey, are you able to do this? We'll pay you if you can, we need it by at this point in the summer. And then he was gonna circle back with me, and if they can't, then we'll have to find someone for the summer that can.
Alright. Oh, cool, good update. Lori, Superintendent Search Subcommittee, if you don't mind, we hold off on talking about that until we talk about the dates. There is no policy subcommittee update, and then we just talk about the parking lot. So on to business items, I think, what do you think about leaving school choice to the last one and
Sure.
get through some of these?
Yep.
So could I have a motion, please, to appoint Jessica Degliverdi as the Boylston representative, to the Boylston Master Plan Implementation Committee? I believe that's what you needed.
Well, in case anyone else wanted to do it, I just want to leave it open there.
Yeah, so the motion is to appoint,
Just like anyone?
Beulah.
Lori and Megan, are you interested?
No, right, I've already done it, so.
Megan, that's what you want.
May I have a
Not
move?
for now, we'll talk about it next year.
So
The motion is seconded by Lisa, no, Jess, sorry. It was Lisa, moved by Lori, to appoint Jess to the Master Planning Committee, Boylston. Would anyone like to question her on this?
Are you okay with it, Jess? And then if,
Whatever, I just,
Do you not want it?
Whatever.
I thought you wanted it.
Most of them know it's
Hold on,
taken
it
out
sounds
there.
like we should vote no, I don't know.
No one else in Boylston would like to do it. I'm happy to do it. There were some documents in the drive that I just, some emails previously were not replied to in terms of things that I could actually talk about at the meeting and contribute. So there's things that we could possibly do as a district and cross off of the Boylston Master Plan. So the document says Boylston Master Plan Implementation Committee. It's from the email that I had sent out last year. And so there's things that we might be able to, that already exist or a student could work on. And, different volunteer opportunities for possible tax property waivers. So, I'll happily send the email out again to see if admin and other school committee members could take a look to see if something exists already or something that someone wants to work on, or if they know someone already working on it. so we can say it's in progress on the master plan or not. So I can send that out again. Lisa and I went through the big green grid that you might have quickly flipped off of. And so there are things that are listed within each area that you can peruse that might be relevant to us as well. So if I can email those two documents out to greater community, so we can take some action and cross some other things off on that committee.
Anyone have any questions? All right, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Anyone against? Pointing Jess?
Congratulations.
All right, Jess, there you go.
Thanks. This is the MPI tracking sheet that you're talking about, Jess?
Yeah, the big green and white thing, don't flip through it. The document says master plan reviews, students access technology May 31st. That talks about possible things that we might want to do. But then I went down to 16 different items, specifically like how it would relate to those. So things that we could do. So I'll send out those two more easily reviewed documents to see if anything grabs anyone's attention. And we have like the no idling signs out of BES and Tohoto, to my knowledge, or at least it was when I looked. So there are things that likely exist already that we can just cross it off. I'll email them.
Okay.
Thanks, Jess. Beth, the Mary Hoffman Award, what do we need to motion and vote? Are we buying something or are we reimbursing something?
I already purchased them, but Julie, for the Marion Hoffman, the motion is just to approve the use of the $50 from the fest? Yep.
All right. So could I have a motion, please, to approve the use of funds for the Mary Hoffman Award in the amount of $50 given as two $25 gift cards to the 2024-25 Mary Hoffman Award recipients?
Second.
All right, Beth and Lori. Cool. Any questions or you want to say anything?
No, I'm not familiar with this one.
Okay, all right. And
Do you have anything to add about it?
Julie, why are we doing this?
This is given every year to two fifth graders at Berlin. It's a fund that was established by an educator from Berlin. We're going to award it every year. So it's free teachers do it every year.
I tried to look it up in the drive-in, but I don't have access to that file for some reason, so I just knew that I had to get them all.
And I bet she doesn't get the request access thing anymore.
all right. So that's the motion there. Does anybody have any other questions?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against it? All right, that one passes as well. Thank you. All right, so school committee dates. Before we make a motion to approve this, we should probably talk about it a little bit. Because I don't know if we necessarily have the ability to set dates for, that we're gonna have to get together for various superintendent search nights and days. We know the general timeline of that from Tracy. So right now, all that's on here is, the schedule is the, like we usually do. The main meetings typically second Tuesday of the month with an as-needed meeting. On here, we have the budget hearing in March, again, like we did this year. Berlin seemed to be happy with that. We had better information at that point than we would in February, and they still hadn't met yet. Of course, we can revisit that if we need to during the budget talks next year. So I was thinking we might just put some asterisks on the bottom maybe, and just note that, we've got some work to do over the summer for things. I don't think we necessarily need meetings for that for the search, because it was just getting information to Tracy. But in September and November, we're gonna have to have, we don't necessarily probably need to make the meetings if it's not gonna be a quorum of the committee going to tour districts and meet the candidates and stuff. But I don't know if we wanted to add them there as notes, just that we'll be doing stuff. Or we don't have to, we can just leave it like this. You look like you have a lot to say.
I have a lot of questions,
All right.
Mike. All right. So I couldn't print this off for some reason. I know some of the documents that was Aaron for print off, but I was looking.
You don't have the access that Aaron walked you out of.
Happily. But some of these are Monday dates. There's a few months in there that
Are
are
they
Monday
Mondays?
dates. There's like 3 different months in there. So
Which ones?
I don't know if I was delusional or what I'm saying,
So-
which
so-
is possible, but, I couldn't print it out tomorrow.
August 18th is a Monday.
November
August 18th 's
11th
not
is
on here.
Veterans Day, that's a Tuesday, that's probably one of them.
Wait, Jess, what are you talking about?
No.
The school committee calendar or the
School committee calendar.
superintendent search calendar?
School
Oh,
committee
School
calendar.
committee calendar.
So actually, before yes, you mentioned the 10th versus 11th or whatever. The MASC conference is starting that Wednesday, the 12th. So she would not be able to be present. There's a question mark on November 10th. School committee meets finals announced on November 10th. So that is one I was questioning that she pretty much said, I'm going to be at the conference. And so should we. This is a great conference for all school committee members. But I just wanted to point that out, that particular date. But then there's a few other months that were Mondays.
Which ones?
December 8th.
oh yeah, December 8th is a Monday.
Yeah, that month, so.
As is the 22nd.
Yeah.
So those need to be changed to December 9th
Yep.
and December 23rd. But that 23rd would be as needed.
That's a typo, probably.
Yep, that's all.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, I just noticed there was 3 months.
January.
February's another one.
13 and 27.
January's okay.
Okay, February, yeah.
February
March, looks like
is
it's Monday.
off.
February 10th should be for February,
9, should be 10 and
Yeah.
24.
10 and
February and
24. Sorry.
Oh, yeah,
So-
10 and 24. April is correct.
Wait a minute, March is not right? So,
March is wrong.
March.
oh,
10th and
December.
10th and 24th as well.
And so is June.
I was just gonna say, I think June 8th is Monday, yep. So
so
June needs to be 9 and 23.
So February, March. and
All right, how
June.
about, instead of going. through-
December,
All
February.
right,
March, and
hold on,
June,
man. How about instead of going through all of them right now, are we gonna need the July date for anything that's on here?
July 22nd.
Yeah, it's listed as needed, but I can't think of anything right now that would be as needed. All right, July, all right. So what if we just set our August date?
That is also Wednesday.
Well, what if we just set, hold on, Megan. And Julie, seriously, the cell phone lady.
Julie.
The biggest proponent of getting rid of cell phones in this class has a cell phone rating for the meeting. That's your new athletic director.
That's why she ran so fast.
What if we did this? What if we we don't have any scheduled dates after tonight? So what if we just get our August meeting on the calendar
Fine.
and we can do a revised calendar then? Would that work?
So is it just the 26th, or we'll be thinking the 12th to get our goals?
Well, so we can talk about it. What do you want to do?
Can we just amend it saying, amend the dates for Tuesdays
I think-
in these months?
We could, but that's gonna take a little bit more time than we probably need to spend on it right now, as long as we can get our next. On here, it's scheduled for August 12th and
Is it as needed?
26th.
Yeah.
So if we just voted to approve that for our next meeting, because we have no meetings scheduled right now after tonight.
That's
Of
fine.
course, any as needed, anything that comes up, we can do other meetings, but 12th and 26th are both Tuesdays, that surrounds the back to school. So if we can set that, and then, we'll work on this L. We'll get you a current calendar.
First of all, I apologize.
Work on May as well.
If ever I need an administrative assistant, which by the end of the week, I'll have someone appointed, like I've been doing, yeah,
Oh,
so.
Lynn's like, that wasn't me, guys.
What's that?
We know, Lynn.
I didn't do that.
No, it's me. I own this. I'm trying to run a district and do a calendar for school committee, so this was me. Sorry about that.
One more hat.
Sorry.
You
All
were
right.
looking at 2025. It's
Could have
okay.
been, could have
You
been.
were, instead of 2026, you were looking at 2025.
It could have been
That's
anything,
exactly what you did.
Could have been anything.
All right.
Yeah, it's fine. Let's vote on that.
So, can I have a motion, please?
Sorry.
To set the next school committee meeting, scheduled to August 12th, 2025 as an as-needed meeting date, and August 26th, 2025 as our regular meeting date.
So,
Lori? Lisa? Okay, good idea, bad idea, questions,
So
comments?
you don't, so July 22nd? No.
Do we need it?
No.
I can't think of anything right now that we need it for, other than.
I'm on vacation.
I'll just be back from my project, so that's all right. So,
No,
so
we don't
that's
need
the
it.
motion. All right,
August.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, anyone against?
And I will have an agenda on that date for you with the updated 25, 26 dates for you guys. Sorry about that.
Yeah. I'll do it right now.
Do people still like Tuesdays at 5 PM? I am fine with it. I'm just putting it out there because I don't know how everybody feels. I mean, it's more like the administrative team and everyone. You like that? Renee?
I think when
Coming out,
when the school committee switched over to that 5 o'clock start time,
You like
there was a
that?
lot of appreciation
Yeah.
for,
Okay.
for that.
We agree.
And the principals like that?
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of parent appreciation.
I know, it's so hard.
So, I mean, we want to encourage transparency and participation, and so even if we delayed it to like 5:15, it would allow people to finish work hypothetically.
I appreciate that. Now we have remote so people can pay attention and follow through. I just need you to look around at this table, right? People, as you guys included, right? They're long days. In the early we start sometimes, we're already into almost 2 hours, right? And we still got some stuff to do. So I know that the admin team appreciates that 5 o'clock start time. So
Someday if we can get to a more streamlined, shorter meeting, then maybe that's.
We're trying.
That would be a time.
We're trying.
We're trying.
Yeah, we are.
I guess it's almost 7 and no one news walked in, right? I mean,
Yeah, good point.
it's
Well, we
not
could
like-
do a public comment at the end. We could tell
Right,
people like
and
we're
then
doing
we-
public comment at 7. If, look, we're always still here at 7. So I mean, that's another, or 6, even 6:30.
Or if someone emails and says that they're interested in making a public comment and they can't get there until 5:30, maybe we do things that don't require votes before and then
Yeah.
be accommodating.
I think your public comment at the end, I think is probably good.
You could front load things that aren't being deliberated.
Right.
So,
Yes.
reports.
That was- yeah.
Like your
Things
report,
like that
not like
could
all
be
those
front
reports.
loaded,
Yeah,
then you
principal
And I'm sure the people
know.
waiting
Then
for
you
public
guys-
comment would
Right.
appreciate
Yeah,
that.
So
Yes.
that's maybe, I don't know, split it, like.
Yeah, we can find a way to be more accommodating without moving the time of the
All right.
actual meeting.
And I think that might also encourage people to attend,
Yeah,
because then if
they
you
don't
can
have to
say
listen.
something at the end too, like maybe it's their expertise or whatever, it would encourage.
We did do that a couple times and nobody came, but we can just put it on a
Make it a
standing
habit.
thing. How about we put a standing agenda item at the end of the meeting for public comment?
Yeah.
All right, that works.
Could we say for 7 PM or?
Well, you want them to do their public comment before you vote, in theory,
That's the theory.
right? Yeah.
Let's say 6:30.
Just push all your votes to the end.
I know, it's so hard to tell
All right.
people when to come for
So,
that.
yeah,
And just
how
say
about instead of the
approximate.
end, we'll just put it before business items. How's that?
Right,
Yep,
yeah,
there you go.
that's fair.
Cool. All right, okay, school choice. Let's have a look. Do you have something to say about school choice first, Al?
So the last proposal that we gave you, I hope you have a copy of that. If you don't, let me know. We really took some time working with the high school and middle school. There's no room right now at the elementary schools in terms of referencing from the both principals saying there's not any extra space. I do know we had a parent that made a public comment about having a sibling underneath school choice. You do have that ability to allow a sibling to come in. You're looking for kindergarten in Berlin for next year. Our numbers in kindergarten for a total of 25 students that will be in our kindergarten next year. That's divided by 2 teachers, so it'll be 12. Yeah, so roughly around there, yes. So just to on that public comment that was made, I know that wasn't a recommendation we gave you here, but under school choice law, you can have a sibling come in with that.
So we could make that specific to the existing sibling or
Yes.
existing student sibling.
As a guest of the superintendent?
No. Let's be very clear about that. Like guests of the superintendent are a whole different perspective, and that is not school choice. We have to be very careful because by law, we cannot say guest the superintendent of school choice.
Yeah.
This is under the laws of school choice. And Aaron, jump in if I'm off on this, that you're
What
allowed to
you can
have.
do is you can open the seats and then you can give preference to, so you'd have to open a seat.
In
But you could say, we'll open 2 seats in Berlin, right, which wouldn't drastically throw those numbers out of whack. And then you would give preference to siblings, right? Whatever number.
So when we motion for that, do we mention preference to siblings, or is that something administration?
You can, I would motion that.
Do we not have a policy about siblings at all?
No, we don't.
We don't?
No, we do not. That, remember, we talked about that before, is that our school choice policy is missing that little caveat that siblings get. Or maybe that was something that came up when I was chair. I remember somebody else asked about a sibling. The thing is, if you open it up to siblings, we open the seat for the kindergartner. I'm fine with that. I think it's the right thing to do because you have a very small class in Berlin over there for kindergarten. One kid isn't gonna make or break it. But they're gonna come out of the woodworks, because I remember last year there was multiple other people. Oh, well, I have a 6th grader and I have a 9th grader already at Tohoto, and the 6th grader really wants to go to Tohoto. And it's like, well, no, we can't open up any seats in that. So it's just like, it's such a gray area. It's such a
But I
fine
would argue
line.
siblings is what you want. You want those are
I totally
engaged
agree.
families, like you want siblings. That's the perfect school choice student is the sibling.
I totally agree, but if we already have, like, for example, this.
Right, and it could
current
be like
five-
sibling, prioritized siblings pending, the class
Pending
size
space.
is below X amount.
Yes, like right,
And
this
that would
9
be
to
like
4.
changing having a policy going forward that we're gonna say, our goal is to have class sizes of X, and if we have below that, we open it up prioritizing siblings as first.
Yeah, I am fine with
So I think that's work that needs to be done, right? In terms of, but for tonight,
Yeah.
referencing this mom in that kindergarten in Berlin, I'm just giving you that information. The rest of the information, we worked with Lisa Sequeira, obviously principal of the high school, and these are the numbers right now that we're looking at we're moving forward with you guys, so give a vote on that for this year. We're getting late. It's June, right? And we got to make sure. We haven't had an increase in all the amount of people that are interested in school choice since the last numbers I gave you, which were grade 6-3, grade 7-3, grade 8-2, grade 9-2. So that's all that has shown an interest so far. And whether they're still interested, I have no idea. But we have to make some sort of decision tonight.
Can we take this in parts then? Can we talk about kindergarten first?
Yeah.
So can I have a motion to open one spot in the incoming kindergarten class at Berlin Memorial School for 1 seat with preference given to an existing sibling?
So moved.
Lori?
Second.
Megan? Questions, discussion?
I think it makes sense. I think keep the families together, and because there's 12 students per class, there's definitely room.
Okay, all in favor?
Wait, Jeff has something to
Oh,
say.
just-
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because the elementary principals aren't here to comment, because there's probably other siblings in existence.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if maybe we can continue this conversation over Zoom or something, and once we get the principals of, BES, BMS principals input, like, are there people they know that there is room in those?
So the lack of better wording, the word in the street is if there's anyone interested in school choice, they are to email me. So the only email that I received is from this mom today, or I think it was dad today. Maybe that's not the email as well. Huh? That was you, sorry. And I actually have it right here as well. But I have not received any others so far.
But I think to Jess's point, once we announce it's open,
Yep.
we may get applications and there may be siblings. So if we have only 1 spot open and we get 3 applications that are all siblings, they have preference, but then we have to hold the lottery for those 3 preference slots, right? So
Yeah.
that becomes a bit of a challenge.
We did it last year. We took a chance. I think there was like 2 or 3 staff people that had children. We opened up, like, it was at BES. We had like 1 spot for the kindergarten and 2 in 2nd grade, and it ended up working out, but I completely agree that it might be different. I have no idea.
In staff, children of staff is different than school choice.
Yeah,
Right,
that's
so-
a guess of we were using the wrong term.
We were using the
Yeah,
wrong
yeah.
term on that
Yeah.
one, but we did open those spots, right, we opened those spots up last year and those kids.
So we have to deal with the information we have in front of us.
Yeah.
I think it's okay. I think I feel comfortable taking that.
Doing this,
For
yes,
the-
I'm just
for
saying,
that one.
I'm just foreseeing
Right.
that, even though only one person's emailed you, that likely Cindy and John have knowledge of siblings
Sure.
that would like to come to our district, but after prior years of conversation gave up. Like, I know there
Sure.
was a 6th grader that,
The second part of this is, depending on class size. The rest of those classes at BMS
Right.
are
For sure.
pretty big.
There's one small one.
There's two small ones at BMS, yeah. BES is like at capacity. All right,
So let's take a vote. If you want to change something, you can vote. But all in favor of the one spot at kindergarten?
Aye.
Anyone against it? All right, so that passes out. So now to Tom.
So Tohoto, right now, the recommendation from administration is in grade 7, 4 school choice spots open. That will bring us to 84, a total of 80, I'm sorry, is the number we're really looking at when we're looking at the 4 classes in the teams of the middle school. Lisa, feel free to jump in anytime. In same thing in grade 10, we're looking at that number from will give us a total of 77. Again, that round number, trying to get to that number of 80, where we're able to allow for each grouping of those 4 groupings that we have and having that equal number in there as well too. Our one concern I know people are asking about is that grade 9 and why that number is low. We have some concerns. We're getting some preliminary MCAS scores back and some things we've seen in the past. We really want to make sure we're focusing on those kids and making sure that they're successful and not leaving us later on as well too. So we wanted to keep that number low for the time being. Also, as a reminder to everyone, we made cuts at the high school. Right, we made cuts, teacher cuts. So we have to be careful about opening up the doors of the high school when we made those cuts. Lisa and I had a conversation today, right? So if nothing will change, right? Whether if we add, our schedules are set right now with the numbers that we're looking at. So we just want to be careful on how much we open up those school choice numbers at the high school. But this is what we're recommending at this point, open for conversations for you guys.
How many are we using now? 8 into 10.
So right now, we have 14, we have 8 going to Assabet and 6 going to private. 5 of those are going to St. John's, and then one of them is like just going, like it's an overnight, it's a very different experience.
Yep.
So does that mean that we're at 66 now?
No.
Weren't we at, so
We're at 68. We went from 80 to.
Right.
You just said
So,
14.
Okay,
I thought
so
we
if
had
you,
12.
if you look at that row, it's, see, there's 70
Yeah.
and then 12, that's 82. But our projected number is 68. So that is the 82 minus the 14.
Oh, the current, okay, sorry.
So there's
Gotta
the
look at
current
that,
is 70 residents, 12 current school choice, which is the 82, which is currently. But then there's 14 students who are leaving, that's bringing us to 68.
I'm not comfortable leaving that at 68 at all. I pulled all the numbers, I've gone back to many years of watching the way this class will continue to drop. We just graduated 56 kids from one class that continue to shrink the whole time. They came in with 85 kids. They went to 81, 77, 65, 67, 63, 59 was the number on Massachusetts website. 56 walked. I believe you said you thought 3 were dual enrollment. So some of these bodies aren't even in the school. Like, that's not a high school experience for those kids. That's not fair. That number is going to go down. If you look at the current class, the fact that they started with 65 kids their freshman year and they went all the way down to 56 walking across that stage, that's not fair to the kids that are here. They deserve to have classmates.
Can you remind me the number of, because I don't have, you have the number of requests to go into grade 9?
Yeah, in grade 9, right now is 2.
And we haven't announced it yet. So those are people that have preemptively
Yep,
asked.
yep, you're right.
So there
absolutely.
might be more. I think our goal should be 75, but
I think the goal should be 80, but I'd be willing to say 75 for that class. I
For,
think
for
it's-
grade 9?
For grade 9.
How many school choice kids are
We
in?
actually couldn't accommodate 80. At that, we couldn't accommodate,
Can you explain to
80,
us?
80 students, as in grade 9 because of the cuts that were made. We wouldn't have spots. We wouldn't have available classes for them.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you could explain why that is.
Yeah, at 80, we would not be able to. Right now, we have, there's a Spanish 1 class that has 26 kids. That's not excellent. So we cannot accommodate 80 kids in 9th grade.
If we are. gonna
Not
do
right
this,
now.
This is the work we gotta do earlier and talk about it during budget season and make sure that we're having the correct staffing.
So the 9th grade will pay the price for our inability to do this earlier.
So hold on. So I asked Lisa to explain why we would be able to accommodate. And I think I know why you're saying that they'll pay the price or they'll it's being taken out on them, but exactly what is being taken out on them, or like what do you believe is paying the price?
That their class is going to get smaller and smaller, and the kids that have the means to go somewhere else while they watch their class get smaller will leave, and they'll go someplace else because their parents have means, and the kids that don't have means are staying here with a tiny class, and it's inequitable as far as I'm concerned.
But you're saying that they're paying the price as if being left behind at the Honto is a bad thing.
When
Like
your
we're
friends
trying
all
to,
leave,
we're trying to change it.
but it's not going to change in 1 year.
No, I know.
We have a
but-
lot of work to do to keep these kids. We had, 2017, 2018, there was 594 kids in that building.
I mean, the 14 kids that left, you said 8 are going to Assabet. So,
Yes, so there's nothing we can do about
yeah,
those 8.
they would go to Assabet for whatever reason. It's a different school, a different thing.
And then,
St. John's is alumni.
right,
It's their alumni.
yeah,
And there's plenty of kids here whose parents went to St. John's that stay here because they like it. And
Yeah.
so we need to find a way to capture, when people have solid friend groups. And it's part of why St. John's has a strong middle school. That's how they get them in. And maybe they can't play a sport in 10th grade, but they played it all through middle school and they didn't get cut from any teams. And they had these great friendships. If we are able to have these bonds where they have more than a choice of 25 boys in your grade, that's really hard. It's a hard experience for these kids, and I feel really badly for that class.
I think it's tougher being in a small community when you have a small school. But it also comes with the territory in a small community, right?
But are you watching your class shrink around you? Is that our goal? To watch
No.
our school shrink? There's 522 kids
But
in
when
the
we
school
talk
now.
about, when we talk about the class shrinking before us though, and the solution to that though is you're suggesting school choice, which is kids coming in who these kids in the class didn't grow up with, they didn't go through middle school with, they didn't go through elementary school with, they didn't play rec sports leagues with, they didn't do all that sort of stuff that when you live in a town, you connect to a town and community. You grow up from, a little kid to community events, church fairs, rec sports,
But
the Easter-
our rec sports are very
Easter-
small, so these
They are.
kids, they do play with these kids, not even sports.
that's why.
My
a lot of
daughter's
them
friends
are
from
combined
dance,
with
school
sports.
choice in here in 6th grade.
Well,
She can play sports with them.
what I'm saying though is the idea to replace the kids who leave with other kids and that's just automatically gonna have friend groups and this and that is a great thing if it happens, but also it's not a guaranteed thing if it happens.
Not a guaranteed thing, so these kids deserve a chance to
Yeah.
have, you can't guarantee they're going to be in AP classes, you can't guarantee they're going to be athletes, we can't guarantee anything.
Yeah.
But more a solid number of kids that maintain all through high school gives these kids a much better chance. And
Much better chance of one.
of maintaining groups and friendships and having a good experience.
I mean, also opportunities, right? So
Right.
if there's not enough kids to do a drama club or not enough kids to do an AP bio class, then it's gonna be full. So growing up at Tohoto, we had school choice kids and they participated and, they melded, and 9th grade is a very appropriate time to introduce students into
the community for the 4 years of high school. So I hear the limited class space. I guess I don't know why at least 2 can be added in. I don't know, it just seems, exactly, it's a shrinking pattern as they get to 12th grade.
And there's kids still making the decision about whether, like, there's some kids that have not committed to St. John's, that might still be leaving that we don't know. That 68 could be 65 by the time school starts. I don't see the harm in bumping that up.
Anybody else?
I think you're making really excellent points, and I really feel that. And I guess one thing though that really does stick in my brain though is what you said also, that the MCAS scores aren't good, and so if we strain the student-teacher ratio, that could really negatively impact that grade. But
We're just giving you these recommendations, right? That was the object that the school committee has asked us to do. We went through the data, we looked at our numbers, we give this to you, and then you guys have to make a vote. So just know how we stand in terms of this. I hear everything you're saying, I agree with all those points, but I also look at whatever's happening here, right? Our 9th grade shrinking because they're going somewhere else. What's happening somewhere else that we're taking those 9th graders from their school and shrinking those schools as well too. So it's a whole domino effect that's happening, right? So we're drawing from somewhere else, those 9th graders, and who are we drawing those from? I appreciate the woman that sat in front of us here and said, I have all these connections, I'm sitting in, Clinton and all that, but we don't get to say we're opening up school choice. We did for siblings, just for residents living in Clinton, right? We don't get to just do that. When we open up school choice, I just remind everyone it's a blind lottery, right? So we don't choose the athletes, we don't choose the kids that are going to do an extracurricular activity. It's just a blind lottery. It's also not a way of us providing more kids in there so we can have, and I've heard this said, so we can have kids get different experiences from different cultures and stuff like that. That's not why we do school choice either. We just have to be careful of that. It's certainly an opportunity to make some additional funding in here as well too. But I just give you all that data to think about when you're making those decisions.
So, I mean, we're graduating 12 school choice kids next year, and we are not taking in a lot of school choice kids. Like, what's going to happen? And I know 7 people from Berlin alone that have school choice to Neshoba. So at one point, does the ratio flip where we stop allowing kids in and we are paying out extra money?
How much school choice funds have we used in the year's budget?
We put $850,000 towards it. We're close to certifying, I keep saying that, but our E&D. So in essence, my hope is that we would, in future years, be effectively cost neutral on that. 450 is about what we take in right now, 435, 450. And we wouldn't spend more than that, right? We would maintain our balance. The goal is to maintain some sort of savings account. If there were, a big issue where we had to pay for an expensive out-of-district placement or something like that, we want that money in the bank to do that with. And this is, choice is a challenge that's kind of plagued this, particularly, I come from Western Mass, and we've had massive population decline. So it is, in Western Mass, in many places, it is a battle between towns to just steal each other's school choice kids. There are districts that are 50% school choice. I would never in a million years advocate to get close to 50% school choice. But, they do it in many ways. Because of population decline, their Chapter 70 is flat. They're trying to maintain programs, right? So we're talking about creating a Spanish program, things like that. If we had a few more school choice kids, could we maintain that Spanish program? We knew we had more money coming in, could we? So there's definitely that side to it. But then at some point, that school choice amount has been fixed forever, and this is the conundrum that Western Mass is facing, right? So that's never going up. So if your costs are consistently going up, operating costs, and you're trying to maintain programs, effectively something's eventually going to give on that 0% increase on that big school choice number. So you have this big, call it $500,000 in school choice that while all of your costs are going up, that's staying flat, right, over time, unless you continue to increase numbers, and then you end up being that district at 50% school choice, right? So there's some challenges. I think I'm So I'm not trying to pick sides here. I'm just trying to say, there's some pitfalls in the long run on sort of depending too much on choice. But there's also how do we maintain programming and, that AP classes that I've been in districts where, we've had to eliminate athletic programs and things like that in the past where there just weren't enough numbers there. It's an eye opener. You have to start thinking about some of that stuff. So double-edged sword in a lot of ways. But
And that's why we're
a
back
lot of
to,
towns in Western Mass became a necessary evil.
that's why we're back to, this is recommendation. School committee let us know where we want. I think to your point, Beth, we need to probably look at this a little bit earlier next year, right?
And have a policy of like, this is what we do and that it's predictable and that families can plan and know that maybe my kid's not gonna get in next year, but if the numbers change and it gets below 80, then my child will be prioritized.
I would want to be careful talking about policy and so that people can plan, because that type of talk starts to sound like what people do for private school. Like, I know when my kid's here, I'm gonna go to private school at 8th grade or 9th grade, whatever it is. If we have, we've got to be cognizant of taxpayers paying for Berlin-Boylston kids. If we're gonna start promoting the idea that families in other towns outside of Berlin-Boylston can plan that we're gonna go to Tohoto and it's not gonna cost us anything, we can stay in a lower tax rate town. We just have to be careful about the language we use for that, because that's gonna upset some, local town people.
I mean, I would
You're
be
starting
upset as
to
a
talk-
local taxpayer if I knew that I was spending all this money on the fixed cost of running a school that's like not running anywhere near its capacity.
Yeah, no, it's
We owe it
it's
to
a
them
balancing
to
act.
really maximize these schools. Like, we don't want to fill them to the brim, but we owe it to the taxpayer to have a strong school system that is graduating class that are not 56 kids.
But on the other side, that language starts to suggest that Tohonto's not a strong school if there's only 60 kids in a class. And that's
I think
as
people prefer
damaging as the other way.
I
What
agree.
about the idea of increasing class sizes, friend groups and all that? This is not an overnight fix, but what about expanding the region?
Like adding another town to the district.
Yeah.
I think that's might be the direction of the event. I mean, I don't know how we maintain.
We're talking about buildings getting near capacity, we're gonna need help there.
The problem is that like I crunched all the numbers for the middle school. This is off topic, but we have 3 grades in the middle school. It's 50% of our school. Like those, and then it goes. So we put the middle school like in the corner. We treat them like high school kids. Like we never really. I feel like we should have really taken a hard look at what we were doing when we moved the 6th grade up to the high school and really found a way to, I think we never recalibrated from that. And I think a lot of the decline after middle schools might have something to do with the fact that we need to maybe take a hard look at how.
We explored something like that a couple years ago with Carol, remember? Rearranging the
Yep.
buildings and
Yep,
things like that.
it was like a
Didn't
year and
go
a half
anywhere.
ago.
Didn't go anywhere, but
So
it was an idea.
So just so
Yep,
we're,
100%.
we're,
Building a middle school, yep.
we're looking at the schedule for middle school, right? And we're making some changes at that middle school level, right? And for the amount of time, and we really spent some time, Lisa and her team, looking at it.
It's a project that I appreciate. It's been my complaint since my daughter was in 6th grade that that's 6th graders are.
We just threw, I'm talking freely, the middle school into the high school and said, here you go,
Yes.
right? We really did. We'll give you a little bit of wing instead of creating a separate schedule that should be for the middle school that's operating in the high school, and the high school operate.
So that's something you're changing this year. That's why 2 years ago we started talking about culture changes, why we fought for the additional assistant principals.
That's right.
That's why we're not getting rid of them, that's why I
It's-
asked that
It's
question.
not a perfect fix.
Just one example, we talked about this, right? So our 6th graders that come here are following the same schedule time-wise as our high school kids. If you're a 6th grader in any other public school in the state of Massachusetts, and you're at elementary school, You're getting 90 minutes of ELA, 90 minutes of math, 90 minutes of all your core subjects if you need to have that. 90 minutes. That's what they're getting at Berlin and Boylston. When they come up here to the high school, they're now at a 47-minute schedule. It's a big change every day. So we're looking at that, and that's a big shift to take place as well. But you need some staffing for that as well too.
Right.
Did you
And
want-
I think the biggest staffing thing that we have to look at is our elected teachers. We share elected teachers. And that's, it's funny that you would think that that was the driving force, between, February and now I breathed the schedule. And the driving force behind the entire schedule are the elective blocks.
Gym
for-
class in.
That's right.
Right, it is elective blocks, not for high school, it's the elective blocks for middle school. And making sure the middle school have their elective blocks. That's the driving force around the whole schedule. And our elective teachers teach mostly middle school students. And so if we want to have, and then kind of what's left over are the opportunities for the high school. And so if we want that separation, which I think is developmentally appropriate, it would be appropriate to have them run on a different schedule. We have to have different elective teachers.
Yeah, the staff can support it, yeah.
This is honest conversation, right? We hear that people are not happy at this and happy at that, not happy at this. We're sort of hearing stuff out there. Underneath, back to being strategic plan, when we're having those SWOT analysis, right? And saying, so if we're hearing that people want that to look differently, and that's what we're hearing, then we're gonna come to you in the budget wise and say, okay, we need to hire more staffing because that middle school's gotta operate by itself. Even though it's in the building, it can't be working on the same schedule at the high school. And that's truly what we should be doing for our middle school kids. And maybe if we're doing that, which we should be doing, that will entice those kids not to want to leave here when they're going, because it will be a different experience in middle school than it is in high school. Right now, it's the same experience. So I'm looking for some.
You're not graduating up, it's like, well, I already did,
I'm doing this.
Tohoto in 6 through 8, I don't need it.
It's not a different environment. So now they're looking for something different. So maybe that's the reason why they're going to St. John or they're going somewhere else. But we need to work on what we have here before we're branching out. It should look different for our kids. 90 minutes in most sixth grade classes in the state of Massachusetts for ELA and math. They come here, they get 47 minutes every day.
Yeah, while I completely hear what you're saying and I agree with the small class size and, the opportunities, like the year we made budget cuts, we cut how many heads from this building? I have a hard time adding more in than the recommended number. And it's one of those things where you can't have your cake and eat it too, right? Like if we, and I'm saying we, like as a school committee, as a community, if we want to cut heads from Tohoto because we want to keep our budget lean, because we want to run lean, because we don't want our taxes to go up, then we're just going to have a small school. If we want to expand and grow and flourish and keep our, work harder to keep our kids, there's a cost, just like anything else. There's a cost associated with that, and we can't be cutting heads if we're adding kids. And
Yeah. So the idea, you're talking about the idea of if there's extra space in a classroom, fill it, but not just
yes,
take it in and then need to hire.
we
So that
can't. We don't have the
money
money.
is not helping anyway.
We don't have the money, and like, again, we decided, and not to pick open scabs about the budget, but we had very strict from both towns, this is all we can do. So we did what we could, I feel like we made some pretty equitable cuts. I mean, Tohoto did bear the brunt of it because of the two towns sharing in the cost, but this is where we landed. So even though we have more physical space in this building, we might not have enough resources to educate these students. I think that's what you were trying to say with we can't do this. We don't have the resources.
We would never make the cuts at the elementary level, right? Because we're looking at those numbers, right? Even adding this person, well, it's 13 and 13 or whatever, right? We don't want to be above X number for elementary schools. People don't really understand that secondary schedule, right? They really don't. I'm sorry, I'll get that. So when you're making cuts at the high school, you're thinking, oh, we're just making a cut. They don't really realize the impact that it's having across that entire school, right? We cut positions this year at the high school. We cut an athletic director position. Now we have a stipend. Julie's got yeoman's work to do with this right now, incorporating the middle school and the high school, right? Not on a full-time position, right? So I want to be careful about opening up and saying, bring more athletes in when I don't have a full-time athletic director this point, because that was a budget cut we decided to make as a whole. Will that come back next year? Absolutely, possibly, but just got to remember that as well too. She's a stipend position now.
I think Jess and Lori.
Sorry.
have something to say?
I just wanted to make almost like a point of clarification. Just because I feel like I know what people said and I know what their intent was, and I just want to make sure the perception is clear. When you go from middle school to high school here, you don't change buildings. So I think a lot of kids think, oh, it's just the same. But there is a distinct difference between the middle school and the high school. And I often wish those middle school kids would try the high school because, I can't think of a school that I could have sent my daughter to, or she would have gotten a better education. And my son is not in the school, but it's due to COVID and simply educational loss during that time. And so we had to retain him and regrade him. We couldn't do it here. He would have been here as well. I believe firmly in the school. It offers a fabulous education, middle school and high school. But I think sometimes kids in middle school think it's going to be more the same, and it's completely different. So very high standards, and I've been really happy. So I just wanted to say that because I know we talk about, like, to your point, like they think I've already done, I know what the art room is, I know what the gym is. It's not a new, but I do think we have a lot of work to do with retaining our kids and making connections and making sure that they value those connections and want to stay because those connections are so important.
Jess?
I'm curious, how, like in the past few years, how many classes have not been able to be run because of enrollment in those classes? I don't know. I know it's putting you on the spot, and I apologize, but
there's been very few classes that had that didn't run. I don't know of any. I think it might be because a weird elective slot. There might be a chorus. So a chorus section couldn't run, or a band section couldn't run, art sections, so it's mostly elective sections that couldn't run because we're servicing the middle school, and then they're blocked in. They're like very blocked in to where they're offered.
So would you say that staffing, sorry to interrupt, like that's more about, we need more resources issue?
We definitely need more resources issue. So it's not, so we're not offering AP Bio this year because we cut a science teacher and that science teacher has to do anatomy, and we're going back to a model of perhaps we do a flip-flop, AP Chem, AP Bio, AP Chem. That was it for a long time.
And not only that, but hiring, so you staff the middle school with full-time art and music and those electives. Then you really don't need a full-time person possibly in that high school, depending on their schedule. So you got half-time arts and elective people. It's doing schedules is absolutely incredible. And just one last thing to what Laurie said. I've spent probably a lot of time here at the high school, as Lisa knows. The kids are really happy here. You need to know that. I've never been in a high school, and I've been in a lot of high schools in my district. The kids are really happy and engaging here. And I'm looking out in the people that work in the cafeteria. The kids are happy and respectful here. So the kids that we have, we're doing good work with.
Yeah, I mean, I attended the
cat fair.
The cat fair. Wasn't it amazing?
Yes.
It was amazing.
It was amazing.
Like, you go up to a set of kids, you're like, all right, give me your spiel, and they, tell the research and their, all their efforts, and they show their poster and how they want to, pass on to the next class, and I have the same experience here, growing up too, and getting really foundational education and inspiration to be something or someone and do something. So it is an incredible education, and I have two kids that are, I plan to have them here too. Earlier we said that that we could do nothing about those spots, and I know that we've mentioned pathways before, and that certainly would be appealing to students to stay. So, and one of the capstone projects was
trying to get, I think, WPI classes or something. You know, and I love that creativity, and I was like, come and present, you know, and so I think that is something in the strategic plan that hopefully that we could, you know, expand opportunities without necessarily expanding staff.
And wouldn't the incredible opportunity be the pathways created at the elementary schools, right? So Berlin has one pathway, Wilson has another pathway, and as those kids progress through elementary school, then there's the pathways that are taking place in the high school. So it shouldn't be just looking at middle school, high school as where the pathways start. In Worcester, right, where I spend a lot of time in, they have them at the elementary levels. They have them by quadrants. One's an arts quadrant, one's business, one's health and human services. Like, these kids are getting exposure even at pre-KK, like this is the focus. And then when they come up to high school, then they're making decisions about where they might be going to colleges after that, because they're starting those pathways at the elementary level, not just at the high school. So we're keeping those kids as they go up. That's what true pathways are all about. But it costs money, and it's gonna take a lot of time.
And if I may.
Sure.
To Jess's point, we have expanded, like, so we hadn't had like a woodshop class forever. But now we have 2 manufacturing classes. And so we've kind of followed the path of, you know, what are the kids interested in? What are they wanting to do? And they love that class. So we've moved towards that. We've brought in the Python class. So we are shifting and moving. It takes a while because you have to, it's almost a year out. You have to plan. We were able to implement this, the Python class very quickly. We also have a backyard sustainability class where they're learning all kinds of things about
Agriculture.
Agriculture and sustainability and.
Got to see the garden over there.
Like,
You
and
got to
it's-
see what they're planting and growing. It's incredible.
So we are doing that, but it's baby steps because we have to shift. It's like a big shift. Like, how is this going to fit into the schedule? So.
They say it's like moving a cruise ship, right? It's not a speedboat that we're just
Right.
cruising through the ocean. It's like moving a cruise ship. It's got to take us a little bit of time. But we need to know, like, what is our focus? Is it agriculture? Is it like all this stuff? Not to be a broken record, we just need to know what direction we're going in.
Strategic
What's
plan.
the focus of this
It goes
district?
back to
Sorry.
that strategic
All right,
plan.
okay, got it.
So we have a recommendation for 4th and 7th grade and 3 and 10th grade. So I'm gonna ask for a motion to approve school choice seats for 4th and 7th grade and 3 and 10th grade as suggested. If we have that motion on the floor, we can discuss and do whatever else we want.
So moved.
I heard Megan move and Lori second. Okay,
Lisa, can I just ask you a quick question? You mentioned that the middle school was kind of like they were driving the electives. Where we're adding 4th to 7th grade, is that going to complicate things?
No, because those are already in place.
Okay.
So they're already scheduled, and I know how much room there are. So all of those classes are a 24 limit.
Gotcha.
So it just, believe me,
It'll
this
work.
is like,
I figured you must have already done the math, but I just felt like I had that.
Yeah.
Can you repeat the grades and the numbers that you already have for the application?
Sure. And this is,
That
that applies, right? Whether it's still current or not, right? So
absolutely.
grade 6, 3, grade 7, 3, grade 8, 2, grade 9, 2.
Okay.
This was as of a couple weeks ago, so.
So for grade 7, I personally know of 2 children that are leaving that are counted in the 76. I would,
that's a lot of speculation that we don't have actual confirmation of.
Right,
The
so
motion on the floor is to add these 4 seats.
withdrawal forms, so we have to, I don't, to this day, when this was made, I don't know what's happened this past week, so I'd have to see with the counselor, we get withdrawal and enrollment forms. So I don't know, we might have newly enrolled students as well from people who've moved in town. So we can't take anybody out of Power School until we have withdrawal forms.
Okay, but you don't know if you have withdrawal forms yet?
No.
You can do it.
Well, yeah.
So, yeah, so there's a motion on the floor. Would anyone like to add anything that hasn't been added already to the discussion?
Yeah, so you mentioned that
Right.
Spanish is at 26 right now. Are there other classes that are high in that incoming ninth grade?
So I don't have all my scheduling stuff with me. If I knew, I have a stack of scheduling stuff, and I have all the data there, so. We do have 2 7th graders coming in. We
Oh, you
have
do?
newly enrolled,
We have two
yeah.
second graders coming in. It looks like one so far has done paperwork for withdrawal.
Thank you.
So that's a +1 to these numbers then?
Yeah.
Possibly.
Essentially, for seventh grade.
Any new enrollments for any other grades in the high school?
New enrollments?
Yeah.
Or withdrawals?
For the high school, there are, aside from the ninth grade, there's that one seventh grader, one 11th, and one 12th, but those
But
are new.
the 12th grader is, that's not.
Yeah, so we'd only be interested in the numbers since this sheet was created.
I mean, the Assabet numbers will probably increase by 2 withdrawing. They just haven't had their formal acceptance, but they have been accepted. It's the parents just sending back the paperwork. But that Assabet number will probably increase by 2 more, leaving that have already been accepted into Assabet.
All right, so the
For grade
motion
nine,
on the
like,
floor is for.
But we don't
4
have their,
seats.
we don't have their withdrawal.
Yeah.
Right.
The motion on the floor is to add 4 seats to 7th grade and 3 seats to 10th grade. Any final comments?
One could amend the motion.
Yeah, can I amend, can I make a motion to amend the motion?
Go ahead.
I would like to add, so we're down to 66 possibly for 9. So I would like to add 4 seats to grade 9 and 2 seats to grade 11.
So there's a motion to amend, motion to add 4 seats at grade 9 and what? What was the last part?
2 seats to grade 11.
Okay.
I'll second that so we can discuss and we can amend it one more time for Robert's rules.
Okay.
So Lisa made some adjectives.
You don't hide the towel well, no.
I know, I don't, and that is,
No, that's
I
great.
don't,
That's
I don't.
That's fine.
11th grade, like school choice, who's school choicing in 11th grade? We have to be super, super cautious. You really have to understand.
I tried to school choice my kid out in 11th grade, so, and I consider her an excellent student, because if the budget didn't pass, I was pulling her out last year.
Yeah, but
All right, so that gave you adjective. How about the 4 at ninth grade?
no, that'd be fine.
That could, despite the Spanish 26.
Yeah.
They would just
I
be
mean,
offered.
Spanish is not a requirement here.
Right, they're not all taking.
For
They can be
graduation.
offered another
Right,
elective.
it can be
Well,
closed.
by whom?
Well,
It would be another study
So-
hall or something, right? So that's just the
So
thing about the
we-
schedule.
So,
And then these school choice kids that come in, we're gonna pick their schedules for them. Like, they're not gonna have options, right? So if Megan says, I want my child to be school choice, we're gonna tell, you don't have much option. We're telling you where there's openings, right?
That's how every district.
Well, no,
That's
for
like
school, for school
For
choice.
school choice,
Yeah.
that they have to, like, everyone's schedule's picked and you get
That's right.
leftovers.
Lisa, would you have less adjective if there was only 2 slots added to the ninth grade? Would that be discussion?
Your recommendation was 0.
right. Yes, two would be better. 2 would be better.
Do you want to continue that sentence, or like, if spots were added to the ninth grade, what would be your comfort level, I guess? What would the number that, if spots were added to the ninth grade?
So we've done, okay, this is a difficult thing, only because I've been doing this schedule, so, and I don't have the schedule, it really is dependent upon the schedule. So let me just go in.
So hypothetically,
So you-
it would be down to 66.
You've been working on this for over a month, because we got it in May.
Right. So things are, things are changing, and we built the schedule around this, so let me just look at.
The only thing I want us to be cautious of, the elementary principals told us what their school choices number were, and everyone was okay with that. Our high school person is telling us, a principal that does all the scheduling,
Well, we added a seat, we did add a seat to elementary school.
the one, right, and even that, right, we're
And
not
if
sure.
John was here, I'd be picking his brain about another seat, but he's not here to talk to, so that's the only reason that I'm not complaining right
Yeah.
now.
And we also have to just be careful at that kindergarten level, what's a comfort level for you guys at the elementary level that you want your kindergarten numbers to be at? In Camden, Wilbraham, not to keep repeating that, but they had another school committee vote on, we don't want any more than this is our number for our, so what number are we comfortable at the kindergarten? Because we also.
did cut some things from BMS kindergarten last year, and that created some problems this year.
That's right. And the Paris, right, and all of that piece. So what's the number we're comfortable? Right now, we're at 13. Are we comfortable with that? Worcester Public School has 27 in their kindergarten class right now. That's not good either. So what's the number we're comfortable with?
You could also get people that roll over the summer.
And move in. Look at our NESDEC
Or
projection.
people that just
Route
have it.
too, like.
Yeah, that's true, but I
We
feel like-
always sit there, we hedge
So-
and we say people could
All right,
move
we
in,
have
we
a-
never account for people that are leaving, when that's the more likely
hold on.
option.
We have a motion on the table right now that's been amended. We need to vote on the amendment, or do something else. But someone has to speak up if they want to do something else,
Yes,
because we've been 45 minutes on this conversation.
I'm sorry to put you on the spot, Lisa, but if 4 is causing me more agita than 2 would, I would.
No,
like to
the agita is with 11 and 12. That becomes, that can become difficult.
I'm sorry,
I'll drop the 11.
You have to
Well,
make an
no,
amendment.
we can
I'll
only do
stop
one more,
complaining.
we can only do one more amendment, so I want to respect you, I mean, I think minus 2 more Aspet kids, that then make me even more want to add at least 2 slots to that 9 slot, and you have 2 who've already applied.
Right.
So,
Lisa, I was comfortable with your original
Mhm.
request. Forcing you to jump through hoops without your information in front of you, I'm not comfortable with. What you said about 11th grade, I'm not comfortable with. I was comfortable with your original, but if you spent all that time and work on coming up with that, to force you to make a snap decision without your information in front of you would be tough for me to understand.
and you'd be free to say 0 if you want, you don't have to say 2 or 4.
I'm comfortable with my original.
Are there any further amendments or comments on this amendment? We're amending the original motion to adding 4 at 9th grade and 2 at 11th. All right, so let's take a vote then on the amendment. All in favor of adding 4 at 9th grade and 2 at 11th grade?
Aye.
Anyone against?
I,
I'm sorry, very sorry. We're back to the original motion. It's 4 at 7th grade and 3 at 10th grade. Any further discussion, comments, questions? All right, all in favor of this motion?
Aye.
Anyone against? Okay, so that motion does pass. So 4 seats at 7th grade, 3 seats at 10th grade.
So we're gonna move first thing tomorrow morning and do a lottery, so I'm gonna need someone from school committee to help us do those. Even though if the numbers might not be all the same, I just need someone to help us draw those applications out. we'll also make sure that we're putting this in a spot so people can know that we have school choice available
And
spots.
if we lead out several more students at the ninth grade, perhaps we could revisit it a third or fourth time.
Is there a date, Aaron?
There's a timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we should make it available and then post a date that we're going to. We'd have to look at the law, but I mean, we have an obligation to open it for a window of time for applicants.
We
But
added,
not, I think to say that
We
we're
voted
doing
in
it or
July
not
last
doing
year.
it.
But
But
let's,
Let's
have Aaron.
We can't just draw it tomorrow.
Yeah,
because
let's have
the window
Aaron
hasn't been
now.
open for people.
Right. Aaron and Al will sort out the
Yeah, I need to look up the process
necessary
quickly, but it's, you know,
procedure, the logistics, whatever needs to happen.
We'll keep you updated on this as well.
Do we want to add back that July meeting date?
Uh,
That
if you
takes-
get more, if you get more information on that, then we can add it back.
All right, so we put it, this used to be on there, it was off for a while, but it's back on, for future agenda item ideas. Anybody have any? We have the cell phone stuff we talked about already.
Definitely the cell phones. We talked about,
Is Julie still there? No.
we're gonna have the goals for August,
Yep.
our goals for August.
And then operating protocols, try to think of
I think the parking lot needs to be on there always, just to keep ourselves
Yeah,
updated
the
about
parking
that.
lot, and the other thing is the Tohoto Fields, it's, the town of Boylston is kind of starting on that. They have the funding, so
Yeah.
the school's not gonna have to pay for it, but that's probably something that we should get an update in for
Sure.
August.
So now that Julie's officially our athletic director, and she just walked out the door, she's on that project as well too.
All right, so now we've got an executive session to enter in for a couple of things. One of these things we're gonna work out is, try to work out the contract with the candidate that we hired for the interim superintendent for the 2025-26 school year. So if everyone remembers, we chose to interview several candidates recently for the position of interim superintendent for next year. And we chose Mr. Ganem specifically because of his knowledge of the detailed and intricate nuances of our regional agreement and budget, and a very complicated and fragile regional budgeting process in relationship with our two member towns. So considering the state of our financials and the level of involvement of oversight from DESI this past year, we thought his knowledge of the situation and his skill in handling the district relationships was a critical priority for hiring the candidate for the interim position. So we're gonna enter into an executive session. We may return to open session if we need to take a vote on the contract. We could, so that option is there for us to return to open session. But we're gonna enter an executive session with possible return to open session pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Purpose 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the BBEA CBA if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of public body, and the chair so declares. And also pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 38, Section 21A, Purpose 2, to conduct a strategy session in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel and to conduct contract negotiations with non-union personnel, interim superintendent of schools.
point of parliamentary inquiry.
Sure.
Did we need to make any decisions on these green dates for the superintendent search tonight?
Well, we talked about that during the calendar vote. We can, we talked about that during the dates with the community.
I mean, just the November date, but I don't know if, like, on Monday versus Wednesday. But I don't know, if, like, because those green dates were her questions about it. I didn't know if we needed to give her an answer for that.
What, maybe when we vote on the calendar in August, we can have Tracy actually provide us a calendar, because we're gonna need to mark our calendars, who's gonna need to go to what,
Yeah.
for the entire fall.
So remember she talked about part of that was, we couldn't necessarily lock down specific dates
Specific
until we
ones.
knew who it was we were going to visit and things like that. But yes, as part of that discussion for the calendar, that was included in there. So in August, we should probably have more information about what those would be.
Respectfully, like, my schedule
Yeah.
comes out 3 months in advance. So, I mean, yes, I can block things in advance, but it's really hard to do 10 people or 20 people in the whole day. So
Yeah. But you already took time off for the MASC conference, yeah?
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. I'm trying to find the file right now. Here.
So Jess, if the schedule comes out in August, that's not gonna, and you have to do something in September, that's not gonna be helpful. Is there any way Tracy?
Well, the green dates are for November and December.
Yeah, we can talk about
August.
Yeah.
So I mean, I
Might need
think
to meet in
block
July.
things, it's easily to create a block and then just add, and then open it if that's not the day, but it's really hard for me to move people. So,
Yeah, I have some issues with work too that I gotta work out with my schedule.
I agree about that. I think we need like solid, like, okay, on this day, this is what we're doing. I know it's gonna be a pain in the butt for Tracy to do, but if we get that like in July or early August, like the
I mean,
August 12th
November
meeting.
10th, we can agree to do. That's just when we're announcing the finalists. It's I think you're probably referring more to the walkthroughs, right? Visits.
Yeah. So just for reference, that's gonna be coordinated, whoever your finalists are as well too, right?
Yeah.
So what we did with even our finalists for the principal, like we had to work in around their schedule as well too. And how far away are you? Like, are your 3 candidates gonna be all sort of local, or are they gonna be on other ends of the state that you can't hit all 2 of them at the same time, or all 3 of them at the same time?
I think we talked about this and we said we were gonna prioritize, like, give you like right of first refusal for what worked in your schedule. Did we talk about this?
I don't
At the
recall
last
that.
meeting?
That sounds lovely, but I don't want, you know.
I feel like this sounds familiar.
I mean, yeah, it's gonna be trouble for me too, because I have some client travel issues, but I don't know what we can do about it right now, to be honest.
I know when they do superintendent search, like they try to make it so I'm gonna visit your district in the morning and your district in the afternoon. But that's if you're close to each other. If you're 3 miles apart, because someone's at North Adams and someone's somewhere else, right? And that's even if you stay within the state, right? There are people that might be applying from Connecticut, Rhode Island as well.
Well, there's 6 of us, so we're gonna just have to divide and conquer, and hopefully like on whatever day Mike and Jess are busy, like one of us is gonna be able to go.
But she
Is it okay?
Because like she said, everything in green says requires the commitment of the full school committee to attend this and interview. So if the full committee is not available, then it's not possible to achieve. So,
But I don't think you can pick those dates without having the candidates. I think that's like,
The full committee has to be on those. Oh, yeah, I get what you're saying.
do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
to Al's point about, like, you have to be able to go with their schedule where they are.
I know.
Jess, let's talk about it a little bit further with Tracy.
I mean, even Zoom on July 22nd or something, or I don't know.
We just have a phone call with her.
Oh, well, yeah.
We have to talk to her anyway for the search, for the
Yes.
stuff we're doing, so let's ask her about that. I agree, I would like some dates.
Yep.
When we
All
talk to her.
right, so we have a motion on the table to enter into executive session, which
So
needs to be moved by Jess and seconded by Lori.
You gotta roll call it.
I know, I'm just, that was a lot of discussion between making the motion and getting it approved, so.
You just read off.
Yeah. Are we good? I'm gonna read it again. We're gonna enter executive session with possible return to open session pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 38, Section 21A, Purpose 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, BDEA, CBA. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body, and the chair so declares, as well as pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 38, Section 21A, Purpose 2, to conduct strategy session in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel and to conduct contract negotiations with non-union personnel, interim superintendent of schools.
So moved.
Megan
Second.
and Lori. Megan.
Aye.
Beth.
Aye.
Lori.
Aye.
Lisa.
Aye.
Jess.
Aye.
And also an aye. Thank you. We are now in executive session.
So
We're going into executive
I gotta
session.
Dave McCarthy to shut it off because Joe had to leave, so it's still live here. Everything's live.
All right.
Can we take a cabinet recess?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, well, no, I changed my.
I negotiate.
Congratulations, Renee.
I'm leaving.
Hold it all.
Oh, did, he's on his own for that, right?
I'll get out.
You could just shut this off or.
I'm not that savvy, but then they're printed out.
No. Because I was like, I was looking at it, I'm like, website